The home of the national champs. This is the SEC on ESPN. Every week in the Southeastern Conference is a test. This weekend, one and the same. It's a top 10 showdown. Number 8 Vanderbilt and second-ranked Florida go head-to-head in game number 2 of their 3-game series. Georgia's off to a surprising start. The Dogs are 7-1 in the East, so both the Gators and Doors playing catch-up a game and a half back after another Georgia win last night. And with that, we welcome you, Tom Hart, alongside College Baseball Hall of Famer Ben McDonald. Florida won it all last year. They won the College World Series, and think about this. They could be even better this season.
I think they definitely are. If you look at the offensive line, they're much better, almost 2 runs per game better. Batting average is much better, and the home runs are up much more than what they did last year. And, of course, Jonathan India is a big reason why. A guy only hit 274 last year. Not the case this year. He's hitting 440, 10 home runs already on the season.
He is part of a Florida team that is 5th in the country in home runs. Meanwhile, on the other side, Vandy has gotten it done with speed and youth. Tim Corbin's rebuilt this program with the #1 recruiting class in the nation.
And that #1 recruiting class has really shown up this year. They've started as many as 5 freshmen in that lineup. You're going to see 4 today. Of course, leading the way for them, Austin Martin's having a big year, hitting .358. Pat DeMarco's hitting .330 as well. So 4 true freshman in the lineup for Vanderbilt.
So here's a look at the batting order that he put together, and here are the guys that have gotten it done over the course of the season. You mentioned, Ben, Pat DeMarco. He has been fantastic this year.
Yeah, he really has. He kind of leads the way. DeMarco does, and then, of course, at the top of that lineup, leadoff hitter Austin Martin is having a tremendous season as well.
And they will get to face Jackson Kowar today, one of the best in the country in postseason experience for the junior from Charlotte. 6'6", 185. Ben, walk us through his scouting report.
Yeah, this exploding fastball. It really gets on you in a hurry. You're going to see it 92. He may even show you a 95 or 96 as well. He's going to pitch a few breaking balls along the way, but the changeup is the key for him. And when he's on, he can throw that changeup in just about any situation.
Florida won game 1 of the series 8-4 last night. They struck out a season-high 16 Vanderbilt batters. Last night's starter, Brady Singer, the ace, struck out 11. Kevin O'Sullivan, 3 consecutive trips to Omaha, including the College World Series win in the finals against LSU and the first ever national championship for Florida. Vandy won it just a few years ago under Tim Corbin for their first ever. And we're ready to go. High noon and a beautiful day for baseball. 64 degrees on this breezy day with the wind out of the northeast at 13 miles an hour. Austin Martin is one of those freshmen. He leads off and plays left field. He's out of Jacksonville, Florida, just down the road. It's a Vandy offense looking to find its stride. Fly ball to center. Nick Horvath is there. In their first 19 games, Vandy hit .309, averaged 8.5 runs per game. In the last 7, they're hitting just $175 and only 3 runs per game. They're a team that loves to run, but they didn't get on base enough last night to try to run against Florida. Those are the numbers over the course of this season, and we are right at the midway point for Vandy and just passed it by a game for Florida. Here's Connor Kaiser, their talented shortstop. And he looks at a fastball low from Jackson Kowar. Kaiser started every game this year at short for Vandy. He's out of Overland Park, Kansas, suburb of Kansas City. 2 sports star in high school, is also a fine basketball player. Won a Gold Glove in high school. Did not have a single error in 13 chances as a senior. And Ben, this is a league known for great shortstops. Just a couple years ago, including Florida's Richie Martin, we had 3 shortstops go in the first round. Kaiser might be the best of them all this season.
That's what they say. I mean, if you watch him play, I mean, the size, 6'4", speaks big league size for sure. It's a body that's filling out. He's getting better. You know, he was in and out a lot as a freshman. Had the job from the beginning and struggled offensively a little bit. So was in and out of the lineup at times. But still in all, we talk about the glove. And you talk about, you know, the range and being able to go really get it with his arm and throw you out. Not many better than him in the SEC.
So 1 down, Jackson Kowar for Florida going to work. And he just missed with that one.
And that's that changeup by Kowars right there. He'll throw it in any count. He'll also backdoor it, meaning to a right-hander. He'll start in that left-hander's batter's box, and because of the run that it has on it kind of coming back, he can backdoor it at times as well.
And he misses on the payoff pitch to put Connor Kaiser aboard. Kaiser part of this great team speed for Vanderbilt. Top 5 in the league in stolen bases. As a squad, Vandy 50 stolen bases on the year in 58 attempts. We'll see if they won't be going early as Ethan Paul stands in.
Yeah, that's something that's much improved from Vanderbilt from this year to last year. Last year, they only stole 55 bases total the entire season. You mentioned it, Tom, at 50 already. And if you go back and look at the years when Vanderbilt had the most success in 13, 14, and 2015, they led the SEC in stolen bases.
Low and away to Paul, who was 0 for 4 last night. And a visit from Deacon Lippett, the shortstop. Paul from the Pacific Northwest. He's out of Bellevue, Washington. Also considered Oregon State and Stanford coming out of international school. He has started every game this year at second. Kaiser held on by Bell. J.J. Schwartz is a Florida catcher. He does not have great defensive numbers. That time was asked for by Paul, not granted, and lo and behold, it misses the strike zone. Schwartz on the season has really struggled throwing out opposing base runners, and he's in there for his offense primarily, but he's only thrown out 2 out of 15 attempted base stealers this season. That was a non-issue last night because Vandy just didn't get on base.
Well, Brady Singer was just too good. I mean, 16 strikeouts in the game total for Vanderbilt. I think Singer punched out 11 Commodores along the way. And it was just one after the other. That big sinking two-seam dream fastball, I call it, that Singer has. It just was amazing last night.
You should trademark that. Two-seam dream.
Oh, he's got the best two-seamer that, you know, maybe in college baseball. I mean, the ability that he has, a lot like Greg Maddux, who used to cover. He has the ability to start it on the inside corner, off the plate to lefties, and bring it right back over. And as a hitter, you just give up on that kind of pitch. The difference is, you know, Maddux threw it at 86 or 87. Singer's bringing it in there at 94 to 95.
Now you just compared him to a Hall of Famer. Double play depth for the infield. And it's popped up. Schwartz can't see it in the sun. Keenan Bell has it and has to backtrack with this. The wind was at 14 miles an hour earlier. Doesn't seem to be much of an issue there, but 2 down.
Sun's tough today. It's tough for us here in the booth, too. It's coming right in. Kind of the same angle the first baseman Bell's looking at. Of course, the wind blowing out hard. He overruns it just a little bit, but makes the adjustment.
That's right above us, above the press box, and it's more brisk at the plate than it is in the outfield. Hello. Here's Julian Infante. Had 2 hits last night for Vandy. One of the veterans in this batting order. Kaiser back. Infante was in the cleanup spot earlier this season, but the product out of Westminster Christian in Miami has really struggled with the bat this year. Having a down season as a junior, only 173 average. And 35 strikeouts in 22 starts, but hit one on the screws last night, ended up 2 for 4. And he looks at a Kowar breaking ball, 0-1.
Well, Vanderbilt needs Infante to get going. There's no doubt about that. You mentioned a guy that set in the middle of their lineup last year and had a solid season for him. Expected more out of him so far. You see the numbers from last year. But still, Vanderbilt's a team that can beat you. You mentioned the stolen bases, and that's where the difference is for them. Still averaging 7 runs a game on the season, but if Infante in the middle of that lineup can get going, it's a totally different offense.
Time was called by the catcher, J.J. Schwartz. So no pitch. So a big shuffle to the batting order today for Tim Corbin. Talking to him before the game, he said, we got to figure something out. This offense that has been scuffling. Infante moved up to the 4 hole. Steven Scott moved from 2nd to 5th. Pat DeMarco moved from 3rd down to 6th. And Tim Corbin, in his 16th season as Vandy head coach, is without one of his best hitters, J.J. Bleday, who's 6th in the league in batting average at .372, suffered an injury during batting practice yesterday. Same pitch, and this time it's official. It's in for a strike.
Yellow oblique injury in the batting cage is swinging. And those are those ones that you just don't know how long it's going to take to come back from.
That is a big hole in this Vanderbilt lineup for a team that had been scuffling, and a big loss for the time being. And it remains to be seen how much time J.J. Bleday will miss. Pulled foul. Still nothing in Tuta Infante from Miami. Both of his parents were born in Cuba. Mother Maddie, dad Joseph. And while at Westminster Christian, Infante set the Florida state record for home runs with a BB Core bat. He had 13. The guy before him who held the record before the BB Core bats was a guy by the name of Prince Fielder. You think he hit a few home runs in high school?
He was pretty good too.
Up and in. Westminster Christian, same school that produced Alex Rodriguez.
See J.J. Schwartz, the catcher from Florida, wanted that ball up in the zone. The 0-5 pitch, elevated fastball. You get ahead 0-2, you change the eye level. Bring it up. If you get a swing out of it, good. But if not, it still sets up the next pitch, which is typically going to be a breaking ball or something on the outside part of the plate.
Right now, kid.
Back in time.
Jack. Come on, two. Good goal.
2-2 and a nice block by Schwartz. What kind of stress does a running game put on a pitcher, Ben?
A lot. I mean, when you talk about a guy that's 6'5" like Jackson Kowar is, it takes him a while to get that ball to home plate. So what it does to you, knowing when you face a team like Vanderbilt who does run a lot, puts extra pressure on you to try to get the ball to home plate a little bit quicker to give your defense time, you know, talking about J.J. Schwartz, to throw somebody out, and that can make you leave balls up in the zone. Stuff's not quite the same.
To the left side, that one will get through. Kaiser will stop at second, and Vandy's got a pair of runners on here in the first inning.
Yeah, good news for Infante. A couple of hits last night, including a double in the gap, and then starts off with a base hit in his first at bat today.
So Vandy trying to string something together here as Steven Scott comes to the plate. He had a big shot for them last night. His lone hit was a 3-run home run late in the game. Vandy tried to make it interesting, and then Florida pulled away. It was a pitcher's duel between aces. Michael Byrne ended up setting the Florida school record with another save last night. This is what Scott did. This was his third of the year.
Yeah, just when you thought the game was out of reach, Vanderbilt comes roaring back with a 3-run shot. And while Vanderbilt didn't win the game, obviously, last night, it forced Florida to bring their closer Burns in to finish the game off.
Yeah, Byrne came in right after that home run. He was very efficient. He only threw 21 pitches, but he had to go for an inning and 2/3. Kaiser the runner at second, and Infante at first with 2 down.
These first innings are always the toughest for starting pitchers, because what you have in the bullpen and what you think's working at bullpen doesn't necessarily translate to the game mound and when a batter steps in the box. And you can see Kowar's been pretty good, not as sharp as you normally see him, but still he's just one pitch away from getting out of this.
Middle of the order really struggled for Vanderbilt last night. The 3 through 7 hitters went just 1 for 20. That lone hit was a Philip Clark home run in the 7th. So
well, most of the time when you talk about teams struggling offensively, that's what it is. Not hitting with runners in scoring position, runners on base.
Swing and a miss for Scott. 23 pitches for Kowar to get through the first inning, but he strands a pair. No scores. We go to the bottom of the first. College baseball is brought to you by Infiniti. Empower the drive. Burger King. Mix or match 2 of our favorite sandwiches for just $6. And Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And based on where we're parked today, we might need some. Here's a look at Kevin O'Sullivan's batting order. This is one of the top power teams in the country. 42 home runs, 5th in the nation. India, the league's leading hitter in the 3 spot. And Will Dalton, the junior college transfer, batting cleanup. Those two have combined for 20 home runs this season. On the mound for Vandy, a guy who's been around the block a time or two, junior out of Knoxville, Patrick Raby. Big guy, 6'3", 230, and he's used to this kind of environment and opponent.
No, this is where he's right at home. He's a big game pitcher. If you look what he's done in his career, he's 10-3 in his career against SEC competition with a 2.8 ERA. Fastballs 88 to 92. He'll use both sides of the plate, and boy, he's going to show you a 3-pitch mix as well. He's going to have a breaking ball, changeup, fastballs to both sides. He'll throw any of the 3 pitches in pretty much any count.
So here's Deacon Lippett, who missed the first 14 games of the season due to a suspension, and then started just 5 for 31. And once he found his rhythm, he's been almost unstoppable. 12 hits in his last 25 at-bats. From Oviedo, Florida, last night Lippett went 1 for 4.
And you see Patrick Raby right from the beginning, that 2-seam fastball just peppering the outside corner. That's what you're going to see a lot of. Not many pitches in the middle of the plate.
The 0-2 is inside. To the right side. Off the bag, and Raby able to get there off the feed from Infante.
Pitchers fielding practice, being able to field your position and get over it. Boy, you can see Raby just a half a step in front of Deacon Lippett to get to first base.
So 1 down for Nelson Maldonado. A couple of hits last night for the Florida DH. He's from Tampa out of Jefferson High School. And a first pitch strike over the outside corner from Raby. .302 average for Maldonado, top third of the order for Florida last night. Had 6 hits, 6 runs, and drove in 4. That was in the Gators' 8-4 win. Fouled back, 1-2.
Well, Raby is a fast worker, gets it right back on the bump again. A little bit of a unique windup. The right foot, the plant foot, turned totally sideways when he starts. He'll begin that rocking position.
Well hit, deep right field. It'll push DeMarco back. It is off of his glove and onto the track. Maldonado to second. Stand-up double for one of the best doubles hitting teams in the country.
Yeah, how about this? Just a mistake pitch this time. Breaking ball left, up, out, over the plate. Nelson Maldonado doesn't miss many of those, and he had this year. Hammered it to right field. You see DeMarco going back and off the tip of his glove. And it hit the ground, no doubt. Maldonado had a stand-up double.
So here's where the stress comes. A runner in scoring position with 1 out, and the best hitter in the SEC coming to the plate. Jonathan India has been on a tear. It has pushed his batting average to an SEC best .440. He is tied for 3rd in the league with 10 home runs. And it leads the league in OPS.
Yeah, this is where Florida can really get you because, you know, the rule of thumb is you never let the other team's best offensive player beat you. You got first base open in this situation, so it would make sense to pinch around Jonathan India, but Will Dalton sits right behind him and just as explosive.
13-game hit streak with its 6 home runs. That's one way to avoid him doing damage. Patrick Raby has only hit 3 batters this season. Plunks his 4th, and Florida has 2 on with 1 out. It will set up the double play for Vandy. And by the way, these are 2 of the best fielding teams that we'll see. Vandy's only committed 15 errors on the season. Florida just 16. So 2 on for a product of Tennessee's Midstate. Will Dalton out of Spring Hill, Tennessee. Spent last year at the junior college route. When Florida was in Nashville last year, they went and saw Dalton play, recruited him, said, we have an immediate need. We could use you, and boy, have they. 10 home runs on the season for Dalton, 4 of them in conference play. First-year player in this league, he's a sophomore. Gave him the low strike, 0-2. Tim Corbin well aware of what Will Dalton can do, familiar with him from his time just outside of Nashville. Columbia State Community College, but Vandy is not a program, and you probably know this based on their academics. They just don't take junior college kids. It's almost impossible to get JUCO kids on campus and into school based on the transfer of credits. Big swing and a miss, and that's a huge strikeout for Raby. 2 down.
Well, you talk about the control of Patrick Raby and be able to move his fastball both in and out. And watch this, 0-2. See, right on the outside corner. I mean, just dots the eye. Can't do it any better than that. So Clark, the catcher for Vanderbilt, rocked out there, put his belly button just off the outside corner. The glove followed it, and that's exactly where that 4-seam fastball was delivered.
So an opportunity for J.J. Schwartz. He is top 10 in the Florida record books in everything. Senior from Palm Beach Gardens. 7 home runs this year for Schwartz. And he looks at a strike. Strikeout numbers are up a little bit lately. 13 Ks in his last 9 games. After only 15 in the first 19 games of the season. JJ got off to a fantastic start this year. He's always put up big numbers in the non-conference, going back to his freshman season and going back to the game his freshman year, when he tied a school record with 4 home runs in a single game against Stetson. That also, set a school record, tied an SEC record. Curveball popped up, foul territory. Infante looks, but it's going to be out of play.
Yeah, it looked like Raby got away with one right there. Pretty much the same pitch Maldonado hit out to right field for a stand-up double. J.J. Schwartz gets one too, a hanging breaking ball, just kind of sit there, and J.J. pulled off of it just enough.
Only 2 players in Florida history have started more games than J.J. Schwartz. Number 1 on the list is Preston Tucker, now in the big leagues with the Braves. Off the hands. Clark runs out of room. J.J.'s behind Tucker and former SEC Player of the Year Brad Wilkerson for runs batted in school history. Top 5 in home runs. Number 10 in walks. And a school record in sac flies for Schwartz, but he also holds a school record for strikeouts.
Yes, it's been a wonderful career for J.J. Schwartz. Nobody expected him to do it, every year what he did his freshman year. The freshman year was unbelievable for him.
18 home runs as a rookie. And like his sister, who played softball here for Tim Walton, he's got a national championship now to his name. How about that? That'll fill up the trophy shelf pretty fast, wouldn't it?
No doubt. 2 national champions, 1 house.
His dad's long been involved in pro ball. Two balls and 2 strikes. Hello. Oh, they got him hung up between first and second. India, now the throw goes to third, and it's dropped by Gonzalez. India got a huge secondary lead, and so Maldonado said, I better just break for third.
Yeah, I think India thought it was a 3-2 count with 2 out because he just took off from first base like it was 3-2 and 2 out. But the count was 2-2. And boy, that's something you talked about. Vanderbilt, the best defensive team with Florida in the entire SEC. That should have been the 3rd out of an inning. And boy, when you give teams like Florida extra opportunities, things can get crazy.
Payoff to Schwartz. Back up the middle. That'll bring at least 1 home. Here's India around third. And indeed, Florida takes advantage of the Vandy mistake. A 2-run single for the senior and captain, J.J. Schwartz.
Well, the breaking ball's been the one for Raby that's gotten him in trouble. I know the count's 3-2, but still, that is too good of a pitch with first base open. He hangs it out over the plate just like he did to Maldonado. And watch J.J. The body's out in front, but the hands stay back. He barrels it right back up the middle, and what a costly error that was for Vanderbilt. It should have been an inning pickoff. Nothing, but instead it's 2-0.
So extra pitches for Raby. Should have been out of there at 19. Here's Austin Langworthy. And he swings through the first offering, 0-1. From just down the road in Williston, Florida. Langworthy was a 31st round pick of the Reds coming out of Williston High School 2 years ago. That year, he was rated the number 5 outfielder in the Sunshine State. In a big at-bat in the midweek, Florida won another game against Florida State. They've dominated that series, and Langworthy drove in a run with a 1-for-2 performance. That game, by the way, 2 hours and 6 minutes. Barely time for the sold-out crowd to buy their hot dogs. When's the last time you saw a 2:06 game?
I don't know if I ever have.
Maybe 7 innings?
That'd be about right. 2:06 in 9 innings?
Packed house at the baseball grounds of Jacksonville, home of the Jumbo Shrimp. 2-1 pitch is upstairs, 3-1. Langworthy did not have a hit last night, but he drew 3 walks. By the way, with that, Schwartz is only 2 ribbies behind Brad Wilkerson for second all-time in school history. There he goes. Swing and a miss. Throw down to second is got away. Another mistake for Vandy. Another opportunity for an out. They'll give. Let's see if they rule that a stolen base or if the ball was dropped by Kaiser. Might be an error on the shortstop. Looked like the throw beat him.
Yeah, fastball up. You see the throw by Clark. Short hops right there, slides into it, and right there you can see the foot of J.J. Schwartz on top of the glove of Connor Kaiser, and that ball just kicks out.
They give J.J. credit for a stolen base. No matter. Strikeout of Langworthy. 2 Ks in the first inning. But also 2 runs for Florida. J.J. Schwartz known for his power. Here, just simple contact. And he drives in 2 on a second chance at bat for Florida. Here's a look at your national headlines. Pac-12 well represented in the top 5. Oregon State was upset by Utah in game 1 of their series this weekend. We've had 17 no-hitters thrown already. That's a record since the aluminum bat era came around in 1974. And in Tallahassee, Mike Martin is close to the all-time wins record. Big win for Florida State last night against a scuffling Louisville squad. Popped up right side. First pitch swinging for the freshman Pat DeMarco. 1 down. And this is a game that will garner and has garnered national headlines. This is the 4th time in the past 5 seasons that Florida and Vandy have both entered their regular season series in the top 10. And in that span, both of these programs have won a national title. Florida last year and Vandy in 2014. First pitch strike to Philip Clark from Jackson Kowar.
Yeah, it's been an amazing run. Certainly for Kevin O'Sullivan and this Florida bunch. 6 College World Series appearances in 10 years, including the title last year.
Both of these programs have had consecutive 50-win seasons. Vandy had a stretch a couple years ago. They were in 150 in a row 3 consecutive years. And Florida's been to Omaha 3 consecutive years after doing it earlier in the decade as well. Well hit to center field, but the ball does not carry to center here. 2 down. These 2 head coaches not only great friends. In fact, they both spent time together at Clemson. They were in each other's weddings, but they're also highly successful. Corbs has taken Vandy to Omaha 3 times. Sully's taken Florida 6 times. 15 first rounders for Vanderbilt. 7 for Sullivan. And they've both done it really with pitching first and defense right there.
Well, they started doing it by the time the BB Core bat came along. Of course, when that BB Core bat came along, it became a pitching dominant type game. Now it's evened up a little bit. I think the game's at the fairest point that it's been in probably forever in the aluminum bat era with the new baseballs that have come out.
To short, here's Lippett. 1, 2, 3 frame. 4 straight retired by Kowar. Very efficient second. 2-0 Gators. 6-1 was the final in game 2, and Florida looking to join these elite programs for back-to-back national championships. Ray Tanner's South Carolina squad did it in 2010 and 11. Pat Casey with a team dominated by in-state players did it in 06 and 07. And national championships number 4 and 5 for LSU back in the mid-90s. To right, ball carrying, and it's handled by DeMarco. Blake Reese is retired. 1 down. What does it take? What does it take to win back-to-back national titles?
Pitching, defense, and really just enough offense. And if you look at Florida, I think they're better all the way around this year. You know, the defense is just as good or better. There's 3 first rounders in your weekend rotation. The bullpen is as solid as it's ever been. And what we talked about in the Open, the offense is a much improved offense. Now, going back to last year, Florida had some guys hurt early. So the offensive numbers were a little bit skewed. They weren't very good offensive. But still, even at the end of the year, those offensive numbers weren't very good. But they got hot at the right time in Omaha. Of course, didn't make an error their last 5 games in Omaha, too. So it really all came together for them.
It was pitching and defense that really won it in Omaha. I mean, they did have some timely hits, but they hit 222 as a team in the College World Series.
When you can pitch and you can play defense, then what does that say? Well, that means you're in every game. You have a chance to win every game if you can pitch and play defense. That does that for Florida. Now all of a sudden the offense is better, and like you said, it was some timely hitting. It wasn't great hitting for them last year, but it was timely.
Line to right field off the bat of Keenan Bell. 1 out single, and that will bring Nick Horvath to the plate.
Watch this stroke, just nice and quiet and short. You see how the hands didn't get too far away from the body, keeps them in tight, and just barrels this ball up to right field. Yeah, Florida hit 259 last year. That's what they hit. That was 11th best in the SEC. So it wasn't great, and the home run numbers weren't great either. 53 home runs last year. That was 6th best in the league, but they stole bases, and they played defense.
Here's Horvath, senior center fielder. Florida's home runs through 28 games this year, they've got 42. At this same time last year, they had 20. So where did the extra 22 home runs come from? Well, you had Will Dalton, who's plus 10 in that category. Jonathan India is 6 ahead of his pace. And Horvath in the 9-hole has added power. He's got 3 home runs. That accounts for 19 of your 22, the difference. Under the glove of Infante. It gets all the way into right field. Bell didn't realize it. He's still able to advance to third. Another mistake made over at first base by the upperclassman, Julian Infante.
Little hit and run action right here, trying to shoot the ball the other way, and that's exactly what Horvath does. And frankly, a ball probably Infante should have fielded. The ball gets underneath his glove. But boy, watch the middle infielders, Kaiser and Paul for Vanderbilt right here. They really kind of deep Kenyon Bell, keeping him from going to third originally. Then once he realized where the ball was at, was able to move on. But again, that's something again that Florida's doing this year too. They're moving, they're hitting and running, just like they did last year. They're stealing a few bases along the way. Of course, like a lot of coaches, once they get up on you, they get you the foot on your throat just a little bit. Florida becomes a little bit more aggressive on the base pass.
Well, one way they're not doing it is they're not doing it with sacrifice bunts. Only 3 on the entire season. That is among the lowest numbers nationally. There's a handful of schools out there that only have 1. And talking with Kevin O'Sullivan about bunting last week when I was here. You know, this is a young Florida team in many respects. They got some first-year players that contribute. But he mentioned he played travel ball. Nobody's bunting. They don't even have signals. So you got young guys in Vanderbilt, I'm sure, dealing with the same issues. Come up and play at this level for the first time. Had a lot of experience in the bunt game.
Well, you almost have, because, you know, most of the guys that come to college, especially these 2 programs, were guys that probably hit in the 3 and the 4 hole in their respective high school lineups. So in your 3 and 4 hole in high school, nobody's bunting. And same thing on your travel ball team. People don't bunt that much anymore. So you almost have to teach the kids once they get to campus how to bunt again.
2-0 now.
Of course, the other thing with O'Sullivan is, you know, he realizes too he has a team that can hit home runs this year, and so you start to weigh, okay, the 3-run homer versus moving guys over. I think you'll see certain times, maybe late in ball games, you know, in close games, you'll see O'Sullivan maybe start to lay down a few bunts from time to time. But for the most part, when you have a club that's already got 42 home runs, 3rd best in the SEC, you don't want to give yourself up that often.
1-0 pitch upstairs, 2-0. Didn't you term that the Weaver?
That's right. 3-run homers, the Weaver.
Part of your Orioles connection.
That's right. Longtime manager Earl Weaver, Hall of Famer. Remember they asked him one time, what's the key to winning? He said, pitching, defense, and 3-run homers.
Lippett sitting on 1 home run this season. The 3-0. That was a strike earlier this inning. Instead, it's a 4-pitch walk to Lippett. It's a first walk from Patrick Raby, and he's dealing with the bases loaded now. And that'll bring a visit from Vandy's pitching coach, Scott Brown. "38 pitches to this point for Raby, 20 of them for strikes. And a couple of outs left on the field, even though there isn't an error on the scoreboard. One on the base running miscue in the first inning for Florida, and here in the second on Keenan Bell's ground ball that got under Infante's glove.
No, it's always tough for a starting pitcher too. You're not supposed to, but you're supposed to be able to separate them. But it's hard when you see plays that are supposed to be made behind you. You take the first inning, for example. Infante throws a ball away. Next batter gets it. You should have been out of the inning. Then you give up a 2-spot, which half of it's your fault. I understand that. But then you see another ball that probably shouldn't have been fielded. It gets by you as well, and all of a sudden now the bases are loaded. So I think that's more of a pick-me-up type visit to the mound, saying, hey, you can only control the things that you can control. Everything else behind you is out of your control. Continue to do the things that's made you successful for 3 years here at Vanderbilt.
A week ago, Florida got a huge grand slam from Jonathan India in this same spot. And here's Maldonado with the bases loaded. That was a grand slam in the Saturday game against Arkansas. And India waits on deck. Time asked for by Maldonado. He's homered 4 times this year. Already a double and a run scored for the Florida DH. Well hit, deep right field. DeMarco on the track hauls it in. Bell will tag from third and score. Horvath replaces him there. And it's a 3-0 lead thanks to a Nelson Maldonado sac fly.
Well, Maldonado gets the pitch that he's looking for in that situation. Only 1 out, bases loaded. You're looking to elevate something, to get it out of the infield, to stay out of that ground ball, the double play. Patrick Ravy leaves the ball kind of up a little bit out over the plate, and Maldonado does a nice job getting it out of the infield.
Florida homered 5 times last weekend against Arkansas. They hit 270 as a team. One of those 5 home runs came from India with his grand slam. The breaking ball stays upstairs. The folks at D1 Baseball have ranked every top third baseman in college baseball. They say Jonathan India is the best third baseman in the game right now. And it's tough to argue. Former 26th round pick of the Brewers.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that you certainly, from a scouting standpoint, you were keeping an eye on going into this year. Quite frankly, the year last year wasn't that good. He only hit 274 with 6 home runs. Of course, this year is a huge difference. Came in batting 440 with 10 home runs. All of a sudden, now he goes to a draft pick. You think about a guy you may take in the first 5 rounds.
He does a little bit of everything. He hits for average. He hits for power. He's got 4 stolen bases on the season. There's the slugging difference between last year and this. And the on-base percentage is up as well. An OPS in SEC games of 1876. It's on-base plus slugging. Popped him up. Late jump for DeMarco. Paul all the way into the right field grass, and he handles the ball while DeMarco loses his hat. A run across on 2 hits for Florida. 3-0 lead for the Gators. Just players that Tim Corbin puts in the big leagues, but also coaches as well. You're looking at Casey Stengel, who was a standout softball player at both Missouri and the University of Washington. They made it to Oklahoma City in the College World Series a couple years ago. And she has been a fan of the way Tim Corbin coaches. So when she was at Missouri as a freshman, she approached the Vanderbilt coaching staff after Game 3 of the series, introduced herself, and said, "I'd love to come work for you someday." Tim Corbin eventually answered. He said, "Hey, if you can get into grad school, come on." Maybe in part thinking like, come on.
Right.
It ain't easy getting to grad school at Vanderbilt. So she gets in, she shows up, she's an intern with this program. She also interned with Major League Baseball this past summer. pitch is low, 1-1. Talking with Corbs about it before the game. And there's so many Vanderbilt products that are active on the professional level of baseball outside of the Dansby Swansons, the David Prices of the world. They have 17 different former players. They're involved in pro ball either on the coaching side or the administrative side. That is a monster number.
That is a big number. And nobody does it better than Coach Corbin for sure.
Of course, the players get a lot of the attention, but you got a pitching coach in Milwaukee, you got assistant GM in Toronto. They're just all over the place. Here's the 2-2. Line drive, snared by Bell. One down. Go back to the final exhibition game of the Braves season. Look at this. Tim Corbin tweeted this out. Sonny Gray was on the mound for the Yankees. Ryan Flaherty and Dansby Swanson both batted against him. Now, this is photoshopped, okay? It's not like they're in the batter's box at the same time. That would take pace of play and just be a little bit obnoxious. But Tim Corbin obviously very proud of the guys at the next level.
There's that good changeup by Jackson Kowar.
Look at his 15 first rounders. 8 players active right now. There are more SEC players in the big leagues and opening day rosters than any other conference.
Yeah, by a lot, almost by double.
This is a conference that tied its own national record last year with 6 teams in the super regionals. And 11 from the SEC went in the first round. 85 on opening day rosters. ACC second most with 48. And that's on current conference membership. So that includes guys like Max Scherzer at Missouri, Michael Wacha from Texas A&M, now with the Cardinals. Two down.
What I really like about that is 70% of the guys on big league roster right now went to college. 70% total. When you combine four-year schools with junior college, 70% went to college. And that tells me, hey, go to school. I mean, school's where it's at, really, because, listen, at the end of the day, not many guys are going to make a living playing baseball. You got to have your education. It's a great to chase it one day, but the truth is, not many guys are going to do that. You hear about the guys that sign the big contracts, but most guys don't. There's the numbers. Opening day rosters.
45% four-year colleges. 2-0 now to Connor Kaiser. It's a guy we could see in the big league someday. And think about the identity crisis that the NCAA is having right now on the basketball side of things. Just yesterday, Darius Basley, a top 10 recruit who had committed to Syracuse, announced that he was going to go pro instead. He was going to go to the G League for a year, then get drafted. Strike 3-1. There's only been a couple guys who have done that. Brandon Jennings went overseas for a year. Another guy went to the then was the D League a few years ago. And of course, that is common in baseball to lose a high school kid to the draft. It certainly makes recruiting a challenge.
Right.
Here's the payoff to Connor Kaiser. Laced to the left side off the glove of Lippett. And Kaiser aboard with a 2-out single. MLB opening week rolls on Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Deportes at 1 o'clock. It's the Cardinals and the Mets from Citi Field. And then at 8:30, the Giants and the Dodgers. Both games also streaming live on the ESPN app. How about the Giants back-to-back 1-0 wins thanks to Joe Panik. Became the first major leaguer in history to homer in consecutive 1-0 games. Ethan Paul grew up a big Robinson Cano fan for his time with the Mariners. 0 for 1 with a pop up to first. 2 balls, no strikes. And that'll bring Kevin O'Sullivan out to have a word with Jackson Kowar. 49 pitches to this point for Kowar, who was almost unbeatable last year. Started the season 12-0. Didn't lose a game until he got to Omaha. And his lone loss came to Jim Schlossnagel's TCU team. In that game, Kowar struck out 11. He was undefeated as a freshman at 3-0 as a midweek starter. 19-2. It's the highest winning percentage in school history. 4-1 this year. That's pretty good. He also got more run support than any other Florida pitcher last year.
Yeah, when you see the ERA a little over 4 last year, but he went 12-1, tells you you're pitching on the right days, and of course that's always the key to winning a lot of games is pitching on the right day.
It was a Sunday starter behind 2 likely first rounders, 1 definite. Alex Faedo went in the first round, signed for $3.5 million last year. Brady Singer was a Saturday starter. And he turned down the Blue Jays coming out of high school, and he's likely first rounder again this year. 3-0. 4-pitch walk puts Paul aboard. Do you think that could have been a discussion there saying, hey, the guy on deck has really scuffled?
Oh, absolutely.
Don't be afraid to walk Paul and get to Infante?
Absolutely. You just want to, hey, be careful. Know where I always say pitching's a lot like playing golf. You know, if you're hitting your approach shot into the green and there's water on the left-hand side, where are you normally going to try to err? You're going to try to err to the right side of the green. That doesn't always work out, but that's the idea when you're playing golf. Same thing in those situations. If I know a guy can hurt me, I'm always shooting for the corner of the plate. But if I know if I miss, I've got to miss off the plate. Those are for the good golfers out there.
I was going to say, it reminds me, I need to buy some more of those floating golf balls.
Those are the guys that control their ball for the most part, yeah. I mean, that's always the idea. Because we all have a plan, right? You have a plan when you step in the batter's box as a hitter. You have a plan when you jump on that bump. We've always got a plan, and the guys that can execute those plans are the ones that have the most success.
Well, now Kowar's plan has gone awry. He's missed the strike zone. Again, 2-0. The count to Infante.
Yeah, he's been ahead for most of the day today so far. I mean, really thrown strike 1, strike 2, gotten ahead. Not so much here in the 3rd inning.
6 straight balls from Kowar. Make it, whoa, gave him that low strike that Raby got one and lost one the last half inning. Michael Banks is our home plate umpire.
Yeah, you be the judge on this one. Very close, right at the bottom of the knees, gets the call this time. Typically when you're all over the zone, you don't get that call. When you're throwing a lot of strikes and you're pumping them in there, lots of times you will.
2-1 to Infante. Two-hit light last night for Julian Infante. Batting average down, power numbers down. 1 home run this season after 11 last year. That put him in the College Home Run Derby in Omaha last July. To the right side, Bell in foul territory. Whoa, it's the second time Bell has misjudged a pop-up, but still caught it. Vandy has stranded 4 base runners through 3 innings. It should be no surprise. The SEC since 1990 has sent 58 teams to Omaha. Had a team in the College World Series, at least one, 32 of the last 33 years. And 18 teams have made it to the big stage in the last 7 seasons. Here's Will Dalton. He might be the next in a long line of first rounders. 11 SEC players win in the first round last year, including Vandy's Kyle Wright, who went 5th overall, and Jaron Kendall, who went 23rd overall. 2-1. Alex Faedo was Florida's first rounder. Low strike being called for both sides now, 2-2. Patrick Raby out of Knoxville's Farragut High School. Former Admiral is now a Commodore. I don't know with Tony Vitello now at Tennessee, how many more recruits Vandy's going to be able to steal from East Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing Vandy does every year. I mean, it seems like there's first rounders, just like Florida. I mean, you look at these two programs, probably more first rounders than anybody in the SEC, probably over the last 10 years by far.
Jammed him. Little pop up, and Kaiser has it. One down. Speaking of past first rounders, how about future first rounders? Look at those numbers from the Hall of Famer compared with Casey Mize.
Yeah, how about Casey Mize strikeout to walk ratio? Is that real? That's almost like a video game, right?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? 70 punch outs on the year and only 3 walks?
You struck out 202. I don't know if Casey Mize is going to throw 150 innings.
No, he won't get there, I promise you. I mean, you know, you go around the league and you look, and there's a lot of talent and a lot of Friday night guys, and we talk about that all the time. But Casey Mize is that guy because he doesn't beat himself. The 3 walks tells me he has command of the strike zone big time.
Kaiser, 2 down. Not a whole lot of college guys throw a split finger, huh?
Well, I think, you know, I honestly believe this. Watching Casey Mize, I hadn't seen him in person yet, but I've watched him twice. I watched him last night, and I watched him a couple of weeks ago. I think he's a guy right now you could take and go plug in a big league rotation, probably in that 5-hole right now. I think he's that good. The ability to control 4 pitches, and it's 4+ pitches too, because he added the cut fastball this year. You talked about the splitter, the fastball to both sides of the plate, and a changeup as well. And so I think you could almost take him. I think he's more big league ready than anybody I've seen this year from a pitching standpoint.
That's quite a sentiment. Here's Gonzalez in foul territory. Jason Gonzalez handles it there. It's a 1-2-3 framework by Raby. We'll see Scott, DeMarco, and Clark to the plate for Vandy in the 4th. Welcome back to Gainesville and the SEC on ESPN from McKeithen Stadium here at the University of Florida. It is another busy weekend on the sports calendar here at Florida. Gators lead Vandy 3-0. Went over yesterday to see Dan Mullen's team with a scrimmage in the Swamp. First year from Mississippi State. They practiced in the rain, and these two teams played in the rain last night. Florida Invitational right behind us at the track stadium. They ran in the rain yesterday. Breaking ball misses low.
Yeah, that track and field stuff, that's fun. That's fun to watch. I don't know if it's fun to watch in the rain, but it's fun to watch.
You just like the rooster tails coming up behind
That's
the sprinters.
Cool. I like it because I never could run fast, and to see somebody run that fast is amazing to me.
Here's Stephen Scott Jr. from Cary, North Carolina, home of USA Baseball. 2-2.
That's right, Cary. Didn't used to be, though. Where did it used to be? Quiz question for you.
Gosh,
back in my day.
Okay, hold on. Give me just a half second. Because I've been to the complex in Cary. It's a beautiful
yes, it is.
Group of facilities there. I think they play the D2 National Championship there. Amongst all the Team USA games. Swing and a miss for Scott. 1 down.
Now this hitting fair right here. Away with some changeup. Then look at the catcher Schwartz. Once on the inside corner, that's exactly where it's delivered. Watch the location is perfect. And then when you look at the scoreboard, how about this? 95 miles an hour. So good luck catching up with that on the inside part of the plate.
Did it used to be in Florida?
No.
Then I'm over. I got nothing.
You're going to know it when I tell you.
To short. Here's Lippett. 2 down.
How about Millington, Tennessee?
Oh, yeah. West Tennessee, just that's between Jackson and Memphis.
That's where it used to be. Many moons ago.
2 down for Philip Clark. You played on the Olympic team. Did you guys train in Millington?
That's where our home base was, yes. That's where they invited, you know, I think 50 players in, college players from across the country, and started narrowing it down during the summer from there, eventually making it, you know, the Olympic team.
Philip Clark fouls one off. That was the '88 Olympics in Seoul.
Correct. Players like Andy Bennis and Robin Ventura.
Line drive to right. So Vandy's got a handful of hits in this one. That's their third hit. But all three of them have come with 2 outs. And that'll bring Jason Gonzalez to the plate.
Well, Jackson Kowar has done a nice job of doing what a pitcher's main responsibility. Get the first out of every inning. If you can get the first out of every inning, the chances of the other team scoring goes way down from there. Kowar has done exactly that, been able to capture that oh so important first out of every inning.
Gonzalez, freshman from California, out of Bishop Amat High School. Great athletic tradition there, and he looks at his strike. Wonder how he ended up with 99. The word was always that in spring training, if your numbers combined got you to 3 digits, you probably weren't making the team. So anything 55 and above.
Yeah, you're in trouble. Yeah, that's a safe bet. I remember Manny Ramirez, you know, one year had a high number and a few others.
Yeah, he went 99 when he was with the Dodgers.
Yeah, but it's very rare.
Jason Gonzalez played with a couple of first rounders, including Hunter Green, who went in the first round at Cincinnati. His dad played pro ball, played in the Braves organization. In fact, he was on a really good team back in the early 90s, the Macon Braves. In 1991, they had a shortstop then by the name of Chipper Jones. Hall of Famer from just up the road in DeLand, Florida, where his dad was a longtime assistant coach at Stetson. Strike 3 called. Another K for Kowar. And it's a big one. Vandy's left 5 on through 4.
Jackson Kowar really starting to rack up the strikeouts. It's been a mid-90 fastball. How about this? Just dots the outside corner. Gators up 3-0 going to the bottom of 4.
The 4th inning, 3-0 Florida leads Vandy. Tom Hart alongside Ben McDonald. Happy to be joined by Florida head coach Kevin O'Sullivan down in the home dugout. Sully, how you doing today?
Doing great so far. So far, so good.
Big win for you guys last night. I know you and Tim Corbin are not only super competitive people, but you're also very good friends. You're each in each other's weddings. So walk me through the conversation the day after you just beat one of your good friends. What do you talk about at the ballpark?
There's not much. You know, he's concentrating on his team, and I'm concentrating on my team. But obviously, love competing against Tim. He's always got a really good club, and obviously they're very well coached.
Coach, talk about Brady Singer, Kowar, Dyson. I mean, everybody knows the talent level. I mean, they're going to be first rounders, all 3 of them most probably. But what's your biggest challenge with working and calling pitches with those guys?
Well, you know, Brady last night, he pitched off his fastball an awful lot. He had some, you know, extra ride to it last night. It was just a different fastball. It was 93, 96. And then obviously Jackson's, you know, throwing the ball down a little bit better today. And I think Vandy's hitters are doing a nice job of staying off his off-speed pitches. So
you may have a game plan is what you're saying, but you're also watching your guy on the mound. The fastball's riding a little bit better one night. Maybe it's a few more fastballs than what the original game plan was then.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Ben. Usually what happens is, you know, at least for us, we like to pitch off our pitcher's strengths. And obviously every game's different. And, you know, obviously, you know, one game, you know, Brady might have all 3 pitches working, or last night it could have been his fastball. But really pitching off our pitcher's strengths.
Blake Reese with a fly ball to center. Sully, I want to keep you here for just one more moment. You also have pitchers that you know, all these great talents that are all different from a personality standpoint. We just saw, you know, a couple innings ago, the commercial that's running with Brady Singer throwing a fit when the sprinklers come on the golf course. He is an intense guy. And Jackson Kowar very differently. As a coach, how do you manage different personalities in game?
Well, to be honest with you, I think both of them are at a point in their career where I just kind of let them go a little bit more. They are a little bit different off the field, but on the field, you know, they're very similar. They're both competitive, and, you know, obviously they both work awfully hard, and both are going to pitch for a long time.
Sully, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Tom. Thanks, Ben.
Kevin O'Sullivan, national championship last year after the Reese fly out. Here's a fly ball to center again off the bat of Keenan Bell. If you haven't seen it, they run this promo locally. It refers back to a Brady Singer outing last year when there was rain in the area. He wanted to keep pitching. The umpire stopped play to bring the tarp on.
It was a regional, wasn't it? Like
yes, that was
situational. Yeah.
You know what? It might have been the Super against Wake Forest.
It was either a regional or a Super regional, but he just went off.
Yeah, he was furious with Mother Nature and with the umpires and all of the conditions. So one of the promos that they're running here locally was a group of Florida players out on the golf course, and they get on to putt, and Singer's lining up a putt, and the sprinklers come on, and he throws his hat and he throws his putter, kind of reenacting that meltdown. Into center field again. 1-2-3 frame worked by Raby. 8 straight retired by Raby. And there's Brady Singer. 11 Ks for the Ace last night. With a 3-0 lead on Vanderbilt. Commodores trying to find some early offense. All of their hits have come with 2 outs thus far today. And Alonzo Jones spoils the first pitch. 0 for 3 last night, 0 for 1 tonight with a line out to first. Talking with Kevin O'Sullivan last half inning and discussed the competitive fire that Jackson Kowar has. That one caught the home plate umpire Michael Banks on a short hop. It's, I think, something that fans at home really don't have a good feel for or appreciate the way coaches work with the different personalities, especially starting pitchers.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, especially in today's game. You know, back many years ago when I was playing, you know, we were all kind of coached the same way. You know, we ruled with an iron fist. It was going to be this way. But kids today, more than anything, want to know why. They'll still do what you tell them to do as a coach, but you got to tell me why you want me to do that. Back when I was playing, coach said, go do, and you just went and did it. You know, you didn't ask why. But I think that is the biggest challenge for coaches these days, really at every level, is every kid's different now. And you got to figure out ways as a coach. And that's what makes a good coach to me, how to push your guys' buttons to get the most out of them. That is the key.
Wait a second. You mean to tell me that Skip Bertman didn't have any Ben McDonald exceptions? I mean, because you got to twist the rules sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, he did. I mean, Skip was brilliant at challenging guys in different ways. Some guys he really got all over. Some guys he was a little, you know, softer with, if you will, to get the best out of them.
You strike me as the kind of player that you didn't need a whole lot of pushing from anyone else.
No, I didn't. But I was like anybody else. Every now and then it was good to put your foot in my rear end as a coach and get me going a little bit. I think everybody needs that through the course of the season.
Leadoff walk to Alonzo Jones. It's the first base runner with nobody out for Vandy today. NCAA Women's National Championship games presented by Capital One. Mississippi State is back in the title game. They'll take on Notre Dame Sunday at 6 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Pregame special begins at 5 with our very own Maria Taylor, Rebecca Lobo, and Andy Landers. Adam Amin, Rebecca, and Carol Lawson have the call on the national championship. Vic Schaefer's team playing for a national title for the 2nd year in a row. How about Tiara McCowan? She set a Final Four record last night in Louisville with 25 rebounds. Runner goes, throw to second is late. And a stolen base for Jones. She said after the game, she said, well, I had the Mamba in the house. I had to try to impress Kobe Bryant.
There you go.
Muffet McGraw already won a national title with Notre Dame back in 2001. They're playing for their 2nd. So Vandy finally getting the running game going. Jones is a perfect 10 for 10 on the bases this season. He's in scoring position for Austin Martin.
We talked about getting the first out of every inning. Kowar's been so good, but not in the 5th inning. You walked, you know, the one guy you really don't want to walk, Alonzo Jones, who may have the most speed out of anybody in this Vanderbilt lineup. Now Kowar up to 81 pitches so far here in the top of the 5th inning.
Two and two. This is the top of the order for Vanderbilt. Leadoff hitter Austin Martin. Freshman from the First Coast out of Trinity Christian in Jacksonville. Hard hit to short. Lippett from his knee. One down. By the way, Deacon Lippett might be playing a little banged up between innings on the throw down to second base. It took a short hop and bounced off of his face. No worse for the wear. He's following Dalton Guthrie's tradition of playing with a dirty uniform, that's for sure. Guthrie, the starting shortstop for the national champions last year. Connor Kaiser has reached base twice. Jones was off and running.
And I think if you're Tim Corbin, you're just trying to figure out a way to manufacture some runs. Anything you can do to try to get some of the momentum back. Hoping in that situation, Austin Martin at the plate, he could hit a ground ball, worst case scenario, to the right side to maybe move Alonzo Jones over, but wasn't able to do it. He grounds out to shortstop, and obviously Jones has to stay at second base.
Half swing and it's punched foul. 1-2. TCU and Oklahoma State played a thriller last night. They're on the U tonight at 7 o'clock. Cowboys announced plans for a brand new ballpark this week. Long time coming. 1-2 pitch. Pulled to the left side. Here's Lippett. 2 down. Jones advances to third. Oklahoma State prevailed in 11 last night. 7-6 was the final. A couple of 2-out hits in the 11th got the Cowboys the win. TCU left 18 on base last night. They're playing a split doubleheader today. Game 1 starting in about 30 minutes in Fort Worth to second. Nothing doing after the leadoff man got on. We'll get Tim Corbin's thoughts about his offense and his Vandy program when we return.
Down.
Game 2 of a 3-game series between Florida and Vandy. It's a top 10 showdown. Tom Hart with Ben McDonald, joined now by Tim Corbin in the visiting dugout. Coach, you have the #1 recruiting class in the nation, and freshmen have been key players for you this season. How have they acclimated to this level of baseball?
Pretty quick, actually. I mean, during the course of the fall, I thought they handled themselves pretty well, showed some gamesmanship, and hit our pitching pretty well, too. So it's the reason why several of them are playing.
Yeah, talk about that class a little bit more, Coach. I mean, when you get a class like that in, what's the biggest challenge coaching a freshman class?
I mean, I think first keeping them, #1, but #2, so many of them coming in at one time. I mean, there were 16 of them, so it's a lot. And with that, there's the academic situation as well. So there's a lot to have to go through, and integrating them into our team. So leadership and older kids have to help as well.
Coach, what do you think about Patrick Raby's performance thus far today?
Settle down. That's what we needed. First couple innings were a little bit rough, but then after that, he got 6 pop-ups, which was good. Started to get some momentum, but we need to get a big hit here.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I say Coach Tim Corbin. Patrick Raby has indeed settled down. He's retired 9 in a row now. The offense has been an issue. They've scuffled over the last couple of weeks. This is a Vandy team that figures been to be involved in low-scoring games this season. They don't have a ton of power. They strike out a lot, but they do run the bases very, very well and very efficiently.
Well, and I think the strikeouts is the key for them. I mean, you talk about the strikeouts, 238 strikeouts. That's the most of any offense in the SEC come in. If they can find a way to start to limit those strikeouts just a little bit, I think would help them get guys on base. Because you mentioned it, when you talk about stolen bases, I mean, 50 bags, they're number one in the SEC on that. So a few more base runners could go a long way for them. But when you're constantly having 4 freshmen and sometimes 5 in his situation in that starting lineup, especially in SEC play, look, it's going to be tough. I mean, you're going to rack up the strikeouts. That's just what's going to happen, and it happened last night. They struck out 16 times in one game last night, did Vanderbilt. So you're going to have to take the good with the bad with a young class in there.
Chance for Ben McDonald to make a play. You think it's a high sun? The catcher, Philip Clark, ran over to the first base dugout on a ball that ended up directly behind home plate 6 rows deep.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some weird plays. I mean, even going back to Florida, the first baseman, Bell, for them, I mean, he's overrun 2 pop-ups. I mean,
look at Clark. He's in the on-deck circle.
He's got no idea.
Welcome to my world. I live every day. Breaking ball just missed, 2-2. Clark, part of that talented freshman class. He was the Tennessean Player of the Year coming out of Christ Presbyterian Academy. Tomahawk to left. Foul, way foul. Nelson Maldonado did the same thing to a Matt Cronin fastball in the 7th inning Sunday against Arkansas. He was able to keep that one fair. Popped up. Paul, the second baseman, takes it in foul territory. 2 down. What a weekend in Major League Baseball. Thriller last night. The Marlins went 17 innings, and opening week rolls on ESPN and ESPN Deportes tomorrow at 1 o'clock. The Cardinals and Mets wrap up their series from Citi Field, and at 8:30 it's the Giants and Dodgers from Chavez Ravine. Both games also streaming live on the ESPN app. Luke Weaver against Steven Matz. Between the Cardinals and Mets, Chris Stratton and Rich Hill take the mound for the Giants and Dodgers. Back-to-back 1-0 wins for San Francisco first 2 games. Nothing in 1 to India. Kevin O'Sullivan was talking about Jonathan India's talent. Plays third for him. He's got 10 home runs. He said, here's a guy I wouldn't hesitate to put it short if I needed to. Past his counterpart Gonzalez at the hot corner. India thinking 2, and he'll throw on the brakes after a wide turn. A hard hit 2-out single for Jonathan India.
Yeah, watch him go up and get this one. I mean, finds the barrel with a ball elevated above his belt buckle and just hits a laser over to third baseman Gonzalez's head. Then it was a foot race between Martin and left fielder. Could he get it in time and hold India to just a single, and was able to do it?
So it's now a 14-game hitting streak.
Well, what a difference. You wonder what makes a guy, what clicks inside of a guy to where he bats 274 one year, then he's hitting over 440 the next. What's the difference for him? I mean, if you look at the numbers, you can tell why. Strikeouts are down, walks are up, which tells me he's not chasing nearly as many bad pitches as what he did last year. So that's a big reason why. But where was the transition? What was it? Summer ball? Was it the summer league? Was it a few more at bats? What really the light bulb went on to all of a sudden you jump your batting average nearly 200 points in a season?
Well, he's been asked about that lately, and he said the key for him is covering the outside part of the plate. And he won't share the secrets, but mentally he's got a different approach to cover the outer third. And Sully talked about it. He said most guys at this level, especially going into your junior year, pitch away, you're going to try to pull it. That one was up in middle of the plate.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So if he says he's staying on the ball better outside, he's seeing the ball, maybe he's recognizing the strike zone a little bit better. And of course, you're not going to find any good hitters that don't recognize the strike zone really well. I mean, that's a key to it all is not swinging at bad pitches if you can help it. It's hard to do, it's easy to say. But if he tells me that means he's covering the ball in the outside part better, which means he's waiting a little bit more. He's seeing the ball a little bit deeper and seeing it longer.
And with that comes a willingness to go opposite field.
Absolutely. Yeah, because when you understand that being a complete hitter, you can't be just a pull guy all the time.
0-1 pitch.
I mean, some guys at the big league level are doing it, but when
Yeah.
you talk about this level here, you've got to be able to spray the ball across the field. And, of course, that could be the difference between a guy hitting 260, 270, not willing to use the opposite field, and all of a sudden you start spraying the ball around, all of a sudden the batting average goes way up.
And part of that is in the big leagues, you get paid for run production.
Absolutely.
You get paid to hit it out of the ballpark.
That's no doubt.
Really interesting to see what A.J. Hinch has been doing with the Astros through spring training and this season, putting such an extreme shift on that multiple times he's used 4 outfielders. And it's worked.
Yeah, I saw Alex Bregman out in left field the other day catch a fly ball.
Talk about defensive positioning a lot with our buddy Chris Burke, and his point is if you're going to pull it on the ground, you're probably going to hit it in the air the opposite way. So in those defensive situations, the left-handed batter, they won't have anyone on the left side of the infield. Runner goes, nope, hesitated.
And that's what I don't understand about even big league hitters is that I always use Chris Davis from the Orioles, for example. They shift him big time, as you know. If I saw a team doing that to me all the time, I know I get paid to hit home runs, but I'm going to make you respect me. I'm going to learn to at least knock a bunt down towards the third baseman every now and then. That's something I would work on in my game because it helps the batting average, it helps the team, it helps everything. And it puts them back out of the shift, back into a normal defensive position, which can only help you out. And I've often wondered why guys don't work on that part of their game just a little bit more.
Arkansas has a fantastic lineup, maybe the deepest in the SEC. 2 of their pole guys, Bonfield and Kerstad, have both been shifted this year. Both times they beat the shift with a bunt and homered in the same game. Little dribbler, and Dalton retired. Patrick Raby is indeed cruising. We're through with 5. Now he just needs some offensive support. That's a former LSU star Alex Bregman with former Stanford standout A.J. Hinch. World champs from Houston. And Bregman, part of the class that saw 3 SEC shortstops all go in the first round in the same year. But Dansby Swanson, of course, first overall to the Diamondbacks and then traded to the Braves. That front office no longer in play. This one deep to left field. It is in play. It is just foul. And that'll bring Julian Infante back to the plate.
Boy, was that close. I mean, just hooking the whole time. The wind was trying to hold it up as the wind's blowing out toward right center field. I thought that was going to get your car at first, Tommy, right down the line.
Yeah, I'm right behind that fence, the only non-protected part of that parking lot. Rolling the dice today. 11 home runs last year for Infante, sitting on 1 this year. I love the relationship, by the way, between A.J. Hinch and Alex Bregman. Kyle Peterson spent some time with those guys in spring training this year. Talk about a coach that motivates. Infante lasers this one towards the corner, and that one, too, is foul into the bullpen. I was there for a game last summer, and I was asking about Bregman, and Hinch was like, listen, I challenge this guy every day to the point where he comes back at me.
Right.
You know, there are sometimes screaming matches between the two.
Yeah, Bregman's one of those guys you don't have to motivate a whole lot. You know, he's one of the guys that's, first one of the park, last one to leave kind of guy. And nobody saw the success that Bregman is having. Nobody saw it coming, I don't think, that fast.
Little punch to second. 1 down. What a class. Fast track to the show 2015. Andrew Benintendi ended up going 7th overall. He was on nobody's draft boards going into the season. Dansby traded after going 1st overall. How about that? Then Bregman went 2nd. Richie Martin in that same draft went in the 1st round to the A's.
Dansby's showing flashes. I think he's eventually going to get there from an offensive standpoint. Bregman had the good year. And Bregman's in a perfect situation. I mean, look who he's surrounded by. That always helps, too, when you're a young guy. When you talk about Springer and Correa and Altuve, and you kind of fit, you know, right in the middle of all those guys, that's a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
There's that good changeup that we talk about. So the fastball all day long for Kowar has been plus. You know, it's been 92. The hardest one we've seen is 96 on the scoreboard. But boy, when he pulls the string, it's about an 8 to 10 mile an hour difference between fastball and changeup, and it's a difference maker. There it is again. That's how good it is. It's just back to back. That's his 4th strikeout, and that changeup kind of runs down and away. Watch him start this ball just on the inside part of the plate. So for a second, you give up on it as a hitter. Then you got to go back and try to get it again, and you just can't do it. That's that circle change that runs down and away from the left-handers, and Kowar has as good a one as you'll see.
Here's freshman Pat DeMarco. How do you get movement like that with a changeup?
Well, I mean, it's the way you hold the ball, you know. So you hold the ball, then as he gets it out in front of him, he actually pronates or turns it over. And when he turns it over, it begins to have a little bit of spin like this, which makes it run kind of down and away from the left-handed hitter. There's the breaking ball, too. And the breaking ball is not a bad one. I mean, certainly the changeup is a more effective pitch for him, but the breaking ball is an average big league breaking ball for sure.
One-two pitch.
Oh.
And then the fastball. 95 on the black. Even Ben McDonald likes watching this guy throw.
Yeah, I mean, you slow the bat down with a changeup, and how about this? Watch the catcher, J.J. Schwartz, rocks to the outside corner. How about 95 knocking some black off the outside corner?
Cover.
3rd trip to the lineup, and Jackson Kowar hasn't allowed anyone to reach base. Tom Hart alongside Ben McDonald. Ben, he's doing it with his changeup, along with that 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah, we talked about the changeup, and he's got one of the best ones around. It's called a circle change because you take your pointer finger and your middle and your thumb, rather, and you hold them together. That creates the circle. Ball's out in front. So when he throws it, he pulls it over a little bit, turns it over as the ball goes, he pronates it, and the ball comes towards home plate. It makes the ball rotate a little bit like this, which runs it down and away from the left-handed swingers.
Here's J.J. Schwartz. And the count 0-2. Schwartz with a 2-run single in the 1st inning. I want you to show folks at home exactly what that changeup looks like. We talk about it a lot, and the grip is something that's different. It can be different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Personal preference and whichever gets you the most action. Here's the 1-2. Schwartz goes in straight. Okay, so let's put you on camera and show us what that changeup. Well, wait a second. We're gonna tease everybody. They're really anxious to see exactly what it looks like.
There's a lot of different changeups the guys are throwing now. There's a straight change, a circle change.
This is Austin Langworthy. He is 0 for 2. Kowar throws a circle change.
Yeah, that's it right there. A lot of guys are throwing it. See it makes a circle right there, and as they throw it and it comes towards home plate, they turn the ball over just enough to where it runs it down and away from the left-handed swingers being right-handed.
1 ball, 1 strike. Almost like you could reach out and touch the camera. I'm sure it almost looked like at 6'9", you're reaching out and just handing the ball to the catcher.
That's right.
Raby misses away. 2 balls and a strike. So if you're coaching a youngster who is trying to develop his arsenal, How do you know which grip is right for you?
I think you have to experiment. You know, I never could control the circle change. I tried a lot when I was playing, but I never could get the action I wanted. I couldn't throw it for a strike I wanted, so I went to more of a straight change.
Into right. Wind wreaking havoc today. DeMarco with the catch, 2 down.
Now, straight change did not have the action to the circle change, so it wasn't a swing and miss pitch for me. It was a pitch that I wanted to be hit, but I wanted to miss the barrel with it, you see. And so it was still an effective pitch. It just wasn't a strikeout kind of pitch for me. So as a pitcher, that's one of the things you learn. You may start off with a circle change, which is easy to throw for a strike, easy to command. And as you grow into your body, you get a little bit better and a little bit older, then you start to experiment with more swing and miss type stuff.
2 down for Blake Reese, who is 0 for 2.
Because that's always the first secondary pitch that I teach as a pitching coach. Fastball first, both sides of the plate. Then we start to learn a changeup. And then once we learn the changeup and you start to get a little bit better with that, then we'll go to the breaking ball when you get a little bit older.
Anecdotally, do you think for a youngster, off the changeup's better for an arm than any breaking ball?
I would think so, yeah. And that's why, you know, when you talk about 11 and 12-year-old kids, always like the changeup first. I don't think there's anything wrong with throwing a few breaking balls when you're 12 or 13 years old. The problem you get into is at 12 and 13, nobody hits a breaking ball. So nobody in travel ball can hit it. So what happens to the guy sitting on the bucket? He ends up going curveball, curveball, curveball. And all of a sudden, Johnny, who's 12 years old, is throwing 60 pitches in a ball game. He's throwing 30 breaking balls. That's when we begin to get in trouble with arm problems. But there's nothing wrong. If you throw 60 pitches and 10 of them are breaking balls, hey, I'm okay with that.
Long foul ball off the bat of Blake Reese. Still 2-2 from Patrick Raby, who's in the Golden Spikes preseason award watch list.
Well, we talked about his experience in the Open, you know, and he's showing his experience today. The first couple innings weren't real sharp for him, but since then, it's been very, very effective. That only comes with experience. Been a 3-year starter for Vanderbilt. And you mentioned the numbers. His career numbers pretty good too. 19-8 with a 2.62 ERA for Patrick Raby.
And he's had a Golden Spikes Award winner. Current Red Sox David Price won it in 2007. Who struck out a school record 194. Off the glove of Infante. Got to recover and can't get there in time. So Reese reaches with 2 out. And he keeps the inning going.
Yeah, Infante almost made an outstanding play. Ball hit to the backhand side. It's a short opportunity. He kind of lays out right there. Ball kicks away from him towards second base. And at that point, Reese just runs too well as he beats it out.
So here's Bell, who was 1 for 2. By the way, Vandy also had Golden Spikes finalists in 07 with Pedro Alvarez, Tyler Beatty in 13, and then Carson Fulmer and Dansby Swanson, both finalists in 2015. Looks like Casey Mize is in the pole position for that award this year.
Yeah, you talk about Casey Mize. You know, last year he was on pace to lead the SEC in strikeouts and got a little bit of a tender arm, missed 2 or 3 starts in the middle of the season last year. He probably would have been the SEC pitcher of the year. Instead, Sean Jelly, who had an outstanding season, the 6'11" righty from Kentucky, won the SEC pitcher of the year.
Ethan Paul giving up some ground at second. For the lefty Bell. Paul's all the way out there on the outfield grass. Runner goes. Kaiser the only one that can cover the bag, and it's a stolen base for Reese.
Boy, Reese got an outstanding jump, too. That's what stole that bag for sure. Watch this jump. 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 4 steps for the ball. Got the home plate. Still, Connor Kaiser with a nice pick. Made it close. Watch the backdoor slide by Reese. Boy, just gets in there.
'95th pitch of the game from Raby. Spiked it. Nice block by Philip Clark.
You know, and stealing bases was a huge part of Florida's game last year. If you go back and look, they were #1 in the SEC, 83 bags last year. And I think they struggled offensively early and had to manufacture some runs. And when the offense got healthy, not so much. And this year they're stealing bases too. That's the 30th bag on the year. That's 5th best in the SEC.
Well, you're not going to sacrifice. There's other ways to get guys around, right?
Well, when you're hitting home runs, too, you hate to run yourself out of an inning. And, again, that's something Florida's doing a little bit differently this year than what they did last year. Last year, not so much a home run team. I mean, 53 homers set them right in the middle of the pack in the SEC. But this year, with the way they're hitting the ball out of the ballpark, you hate to run into an out. So I think O'Sullivan's more likely to let most of the guys swing away.
Payoff pitch. Punched foul. Nationally, home runs per game are just a tick off of last year, and they flew out of the ballpark. Strikeouts per 9 innings are up, and walks per 9 innings are up. Both of those last two numbers, the highest they've been since the introduction to the flat seam baseball. Following a trend that's also occurring in the big leagues. Strikeouts up, walks up, home runs up. So in that scenario, like you said, why give away an out? Or why risk an out on the base paths? Again, the payoff. And there's ball 4. Raby nearing 100 pitches. We'll see if Vandy won't get the bullpen going here in a moment. Nick Horvath coming to the plate. Second walk from Raby. Zach King is getting loose. And here's Tim Corbin, and he's going to make the call to the bullpen. Go to the lefty King with Horvath threw up, and then Lippett on deck. It's a 3-0 Florida lead. So Patrick Raby's day is done. He gives Vandy 5 2/3, but a hit and a walk will chase him here in the 6th inning. 5 2/3, 6 hits, 3 runs.
Yeah, I think he pitched it much better than what the numbers showed. Remember, if there's a couple of defensive plays that are made, a throw across the diamond cost him a couple of runs. Another ball that probably should have been caught gets by as he gives way to the big 6'6" left-hander Zach King. Spring Hill, Tennessee, 210 pounds. You see the numbers on the year. 20 2/3 innings pitched, like the strikeout to walk ratio. Right at a 4-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. It's a fastball, upper 80s, touch 90 with the fastball. Big overhand breaking ball to go with it.
Tim Corbin used 3 out of the bullpen last night to follow Drake Fellows, who had a fantastic outing. Fellows struck out 8 6 1/3. Justin Willis, Hugh Fisher, and Maddox Conger all threw out of the pen last night for Vandy. Oh, it's a late night at the ballpark for these teams. The first pitch was delayed a little over an hour and a half due to rain in the area.
Back at the ballpark early this morning. Sleep fast.
So King to face Horvath. King was a starter early in the season. First time out, started against a very good Duke team and went 4 innings. Hasn't allowed an earned run in each of his last 3 outings. And it's come against elite competition. LSU, Mississippi State, and TCU. Horvath singled his first time up. Oh, one pitch is lifted deep to left field. It turns Martin around and he makes the catch. Turned all the way around but hauls it in, and King does his job. No runs, a hit, 2 stranded for Florida. 6 innings into this one, it's a 3-0 Gators lead.
Gainesville, Jackson Kowar has been on point for the Florida Gators today. Fastball's been up in the zone, out of the middle of the plate. You see him just blowing it right by guys. There's another spot in the outside corner. Why? Because that pitch right there, the changeup has been really good. You got to respect the changeup that he can do that right there. He can tack the outside corner. 5 strikeouts through 6. Only 3 hits. Of course, has not given up a run to this point.
And a little dribbler to Philip Clark foul to start the Vandy half of the 7th. 97 pitches for Kowar.
Yeah, and he's just one of those guys you got to respect the changeup because it's so good. The problem with halfway looking or thinking about a changeup is
that high chopper drops fair. Clark on his way to second. Strong throw is wide of the bag, and it's a lead-off chop double for Philip Clark. His 2nd hit of the game.
Yeah, not a bad pitch, but almost like a check swing. Just kind of pokes the bat out there, does Clark. And I tell you, it's more of a lob shot right up over the top of the head. And almost like a wedge is stuck in the ground. You see the right fielder, Dalton, quickly gets to it. And a little bit of a gamble by Clark because a good throw might have got him. That was more that was like a Baltimore chop.
It's like a fake chop. Kind of, you were right. It was more like a lob wedge. Kind of came off the bat.
It was
soft,
weird,
didn't it?
More of a check swing, but hey, it works for Vanderbilt. One of the few times the leadoff guy has been on for Vandy.
So here's Jason Gonzalez. Chopped foul. 0-2. Might have to have a chopped salad for dinner. Or a pork chop. Kowar licking his chops. He struck out 5. Strike 3 called. Got him with a fastball just below the kneecap.
Well, like a lot of the really good ones out there, Kowar has the ability to elevate his game when he needs to. Runner at second base. Watch this. Boom, right on the outside corner, bottom of the knees. And oh, by the way, in the 7th, still pumping at 95 miles an hour. And that's the reason why he will be a first-round draft pick this year.
Florida's trying to take another regular season series from Vandy. They've had great success against the Commodores, although Vandy has gotten back at them in the SEC tournament. And Alonzo Jones fouls off the first. Series finale tomorrow at noon on the SEC network. Off of J.J. Schwartz's glove, and Philip Clark will go to third. I thought, Ben, I don't know if you noticed, but on the pitch before, J.J. Schwartz looked a little banged up. Let me take a couple of shots here and there.
I don't know if he got crossed up here. He just let this fastball get away from him.
Yeah, that was the foul ball. It got him on the hand. Yeah, that was 2 pitches ago.
Yeah, and then the next one, the hands hurt a little bit, so maybe you try to catch it just perfectly so it doesn't hurt as bad. Ball gets by you.
Jones fillets that one to the left side, and Vandy's on the board with an RBI single from Alonzo Jones.
Well, it didn't look pretty for Alonzo Jones, but boy, was it ever productive. Another changeup by Kowar, and you can see the body. Watch the body get out in front just enough, but instead of going too far out in front, he goes down a little bit, keeps the hands back, and puts a barrel on it right back up the middle, and Vandy pushes across their first run of the ball game.
Vandy's offense came alive late last night. They scored 1 in the 7th and 3 in the 8th. Schwartz out to have a word with Kowar with Austin Martin due up. There is some action in the Florida bullpen. They've got a lefty getting loose, and that's where Kevin O'Sullivan will go. It'll do it after 105 pitches for Jackson Kowar. He's in line for the win, but the lineup turns over for Vanderbilt with 1 run in and 1 on. 1 out in the 7th. Can Vandy find more offense here late in this game? 3-1 Gators. Florida starter Jackson Kowar in line for his 20th career win. It would be against only 2 losses for the Florida junior. He exits with the lead after 105 pitches. 6 1/3 inning. Lone run is unearned as of right now. It's Jordan Butler coming out of the Florida bullpen. He was great in the midweek win against Florida State. 2 shutout hitless innings in a no decision. And didn't allow a run against Arkansas last weekend. 10th appearance of the season, a 3.16 ERA. 27 Ks against 11 walks. In 25 2/3 for the lefty.
Yeah, it's a fastball. You know, it's an upper 80s. He'll show you a 90, maybe a 91, but it's more deception than it is anything, especially against the left-handers. He'll drop down to a low 3/4 type slot. So it gives you just a little bit different look. You'll see a change up to right-handers, a breaking ball to lefties.
Austin Martin is looking for his first hit of the game. He is 0 for 3. Two flyouts and a ground out.
See Alonzo Jones over at first base. Already stole 1 bag today, 10 for 10 on the year. I think there's a lot to do with the pitching change by Kevin O'Sullivan. Want to get the lefty in there to try to control the running game a little more.
We're at the midway point of the season, and tough to change the spots in the Leopard at this point. We kind of know who everybody is. In Florida, living up to their reputation, number 2 ranked team in the country. Great starting pitching today from Kowar. And Vanderbilt with this very young team struggling to find offense to match their pitching and fielding production. 0-2. Jammed him behind the mound. It's cavalcade, and it's taken by India for out number 2. MLB opening week rolls on Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. The Cardinals take on the Mets tomorrow at 1. They just added All-Star closer Greg Holland in St. Louis. And then tomorrow night at 8:30 it's Sunday Night Baseball. The Giants and the Dodgers. Jess Mendoza, A-Rod, and Matty V. We've had a great series already out in LA. Both games also streaming live on the ESPN app. Joe Panik has set a major league record. He's homered in consecutive 1-0 games. Only big leaguer to ever do that. This is Connor Kaiser. He is 1 for 2 today. And the count goes to a ball and a strike on the Vanderbilt shortstop. Trying to use Butler as a bridge to get to Michael Byrne, who's the all-time saves leader in Florida history. Just off the plate, 2-1. Schwartz back to the mound. By the way, Ben, are you aware of this new major league rule? It's in effect this year. You only get 6 mound visits in a given game in 9 innings.
I did hear about that.
And that would count what J.J. Schwartz just did. Those are mound visits for any pitcher, total of 6 from managers, pitching coaches, teammates, anyone.
Yeah, shortstop comes in. I mean, there's a fine line. I guess they were trying to describe how it was going to work. If you come all the way in, of course, it's a visit. Maybe if you're the shortstop and you come into the edge of the grass to say something, maybe it's not going to be counted a visit. There's a gray area in there.
Yeah, if you're a fielder and in the act of fielding, you have to come near the mound, and on your way back to the position, you kind of stop off and have a word. That's okay. But if you stop play to go to the mound, that would count as a visit. Now this year in the SEC, the catchers are wearing wireless technology. J.J. Schwartz has an earpiece in. And he can get the signs directly from the coaching staff through a walkie-talkie. And it's not just the signs. He can also get any instruction that they want him to relay to the pitcher. Like, hey, now would be a good time for a visit. What happened there?
I think I might have had a ball call.
Regardless, Alonzo Jones just jogged to second. 2-2 is the count. Yeah, so no pitch. It was a balk.
Yeah, I'm not sure Butler ever came to a complete stop or anywhere close to it. Of course, with a runner on base, you have to come to a complete stop as a pitcher.
This is where the balk was called.
I don't know. It looked like to me that's a complete stop.
Call was made by the first base umpire, Tony Walsh. Payoff pitch. This one will end up in the second row.
Keep going, Paul. Keep going.
Here's a 3-2 pitch to Kaiser. Froze him. Jonathan Butler with a big-time strikeout. That'll close the seventh.
How about Jordan Butler finishing in? I love that. Most hitters with 2 strikes look at this, hit something out of the plate. Not Butler. Watch this. Right on the inside corner. Gators up 3-1. Bottom of 7.
What a beautiful day for baseball here in Gainesville. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. McKeithen Stadium, home of the defending national champs. And in this top 12 showdown, a J.J. Schwartz 2-run single in the first inning is a difference in this one. Alonzo Jones pushed the run across for Vandy in the 7th. But Jordan Butler shut the door on him. Back to the top of the order for Florida. This is Deacon Lippett, who is 0 for 2. And we'll see Nelson Maldonado and the league's best hitter in Jonathan India. 2-0.
Well, if you're Vanderbilt, you're in striking distance. I know the offense hadn't been very good, but just 2 runs down. Still plenty of at-bats to play with, but the key is going to be Zach King for Vanderbilt, being able to put those zeros up and give that offense an opportunity to come back.
And peeking ahead to the Vandy 8th, will have the heart of the order due up, the 3, 4, and 5 spots. Paul, Infante, and Scott. The only question is, it would still be a 2-run game at that point. The leadoff walk to Deacon Lippett from Zach King. And Nelson Maldonado coming up. And also from a Vanderbilt perspective, Ben, you would figure that the 8th is where they got to do some damage. Because not only do you have the heart of the lineup up, but Michael Byrne is lurking in that Florida bullpen. Best closer by numbers in Florida history. And he was magnificent again last night.
Yeah, he's so much fun to watch. Can't be much fun to hit off of because you never know what's coming. 3 pitches he'll throw in any count. Set the all-time saves record last night in Florida history.
And he did it in really a year's span. He wasn't even their closer to start the season last year.
Right.
This is who Vandy will likely see. He's only allowed one earned run over his last 31 innings. Was magnificent last year and in the postseason. Maldonado doubled and scored in the first inning. He's got a runner on here in the 7th. Big series in the ACC. Louisville trying to even it with Florida State. It's a 5-0 lead for the Cardinals in the 4th inning over in Tallahassee. That comes as 11. Mike Martin chases the late Augie Garrido's all-time win record. And it still feels odd to say it that way.
Yes.
Nothing in 2 to Maldonado. Florida State held on to beat Louisville last night 8-7. Big one in the Big East this weekend. Wichita State is in Greenville to take on East Carolina. Pirates won last night. Pardon me, in the American. I've lost track. And a really big series in Oxford. Arkansas won game 1. That was a 1-run game. Matt Cronin was fantastic in relief for the Razorbacks. Ole Miss came back to beat them by 1 last night.
Yeah, I saw Ole Miss for the first time against Texas A&M last week, and I'm telling you what, Ole Miss is for real. The offense, like Florida, much improved from last year. The pitching's always outstanding for Ole Miss.
King misses away right where he wanted to. 1-2.
And that bullpen for Ole Miss may not be just the best in the SEC. It may be the best in the country. Parker Caracci is a wonderful story. You know, he's come out of being a walk-on, couldn't get a uniform the last 2 years, to come in throwing 94 to 96 miles an hour this year. You put him in the back end with Dallas Woolfolk back there and Will Etheridge and others. And I tell you what, the Ole Miss bullpen, they can take a lead into the 6th inning. It's almost lights out.
You mentioned Caracci, and we're talking about high numbers in baseball. Caracci wears number 65. He wears it in honor of a couple of his former high school football and baseball teammates, Rivers McGraw and Walker Wilbanks. Wilbanks was a defensive lineman who wore number 65. They've both since passed away. Emotional story. And he pitches every day with those two guys on his mind.
Yeah, that is it's a sad story in a lot of ways, but it's also a feel-good story too, from where Caracci was 2 years ago and the things that's happened to him and how he's went off last summer and kind of found himself again, and now he's right at the back end of that bullpen for Ole Miss. Zach King from Vanderbilt really keeping a close eye on Deacon Lippett over at first base, throwing over, varying his moves and his times to home plate. Something Florida will do, and that's still a base.
Lippett 3 of 4 on the base paths this year. Fakes going, and it's a swing and a miss. Best hitter in the SEC, best third baseman in the game, Jonathan India. Talked about the late runs for Vandy last night to make it interesting, but it was a 5-run 7th for Florida that put that game away. Turned into an 8-4 Gators win in game 1 of the series.
Well, you just don't see any weak spots in Florida's game. I mean, it's a reason why they won the national title last year. They're number 2 this year. And some would argue they are the best team in the country.
There goes the runner, pitches up, throw to second, comes in on a hop, and it's the 4th stolen base in 5 tries for Deacon Lippett this year.
And what a wonderful jump. He got off a left-hander. You always go on first movement. And the first move, as soon as the leg came off of the ground just a little bit, Lippett's off, and he's easily in the first base. And Really, that's how you judge a good team. How many different ways can a team beat you? Well, Florida has shown you they can beat you with their pitching. They're one of the top defensive teams in the club. They can, in the country, they can steal a base when you need them to. Of course, they can hit home runs as well. So there's really not a weak spot.
Going again, and it's fouled off again. You mentioned Florida maybe being the best team in the country. Oregon State ranked #1. Bounced back to even their series with Utah with a 9-5 win last night. The Beavers still playing without Nick Madrigal. They're all everything second baseman out with a hand injury. And now India looks banged up after this awkward swing.
Almost like when he twisted to follow through with his swing, and something in the knee or the ankle he rolled over.
Shakes that left ankle a little bit.
Once those spikes get dug in that dirt and you begin to swing, the feet don't typically rotate.
Watch his front knee.
Ooh.
Yeah, just kind of collapsed on it, didn't it?
Looked like he went to lock it out, but the heel did not stay planted, and when it did, it kind of buckled a little bit.
Payoff to India. Just missed it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Oregon State. There's a lot of good teams out there, a lot of teams that I think that could win it this year. And, of course, it's all going to boil down to getting hot at the right time. Doing exactly what Florida did last year, played their best baseball when it mattered the most.
Stanford beat Oregon last night 5-1. Swing and a miss for India. Back-to-back Ks for King. 2 down. NCAA Women's National Championship game presented by Capital One comes your way tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. The pregame special begins an hour earlier than that. Maria Taylor, Rebecca Lobo, and Andy Landers. Mississippi State, after an all-SEC final last year, taking on Notre Dame this year. 2 #1 seeds. Notre Dame knocked off UConn last night for UConn's first loss of the season. They lose in the semis for the second consecutive year. We've got a pitching change here in Gainesville. Tim Corbin going back to the bullpen. We'll step away for a timeout. It's 3-1 Florida in the 7th. So with this move to the bullpen, they'll bring in Big Tyler Brown, 6'4", 242. He's from Ashland, Ohio. We miss a Spring Hill, Tennessee matchup that would have pitted Zach King against Will Dalton. 7th appearance for Brown. ERA nearly 2.5. 22 Ks against only 2 walks.
Yeah, Tyler Brown can rush it up there from the right side. You're going to see a fastball that's going to be mid-90s and may even see it a little higher a time or two. 22-2 strikeout to walk ratio. Only 11 hits given up in 14 2/3.
Brown did not pitch last weekend. Facing Will Dalton here in a cleanup spot. Dalton tied for 3rd in the league with 10 home runs, but he is 0 for 3 today. Brown last pitched on March 18th, 4 shutout innings against Mississippi State. Picked up his 2nd save that day. It's a Vandy team that hasn't lost 3 consecutive games all season. In fact, they've lost 2 in a row for the first time since March 2nd and 3rd as Brown greets Dalton with a curveball. Brown, part of the #1 recruiting class in the nation. 5 Vandy freshmen have made starts this season. 15 have made appearances. Freshman pitchers are 8-4 with a 3.7 ERA and 106 strikeouts in 90 2/3 innings. One to Dalton with a runner on. Back to the breaking ball.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, Vandy's been a tough team to figure out this year, especially as of late. I mean, they've lost their last 3 midweek contests. If you go back and look, they lost to Eastern Kentucky, but then they sweep Mississippi State, then they lose to Belmont, but they win 2 out of 3 against LSU. And even this past week, they've lost to Lipscomb 5-1. So weekends have been good. Middle of the week, not so good. You write some of that off to, you know, a young team that's having trouble getting up for games that, quite frankly, they should win.
Well, they got off to a great start this season, 9-1 in February. That included a series win at home against a top 25 team in Duke. They lost to Sam Houston State in extra innings. That's a really good offensive team, and Sam Houston State has been flirting with a top 25. They beat a ranked Houston squad. They beat a ranked UCLA team, and they beat a top 10 team in TCU. Line drive off of Kaiser's mitt. Lipping around third. Florida adds another run. And that is a big run for Florida late in this game.
That's what you call insurance late in the ball game. Fastball elevated just a tad. Watch Dalton just goes up and gets it, gets the barrel on top of the baseball, hits a line drive. And watch Kaiser over his short, lays out and ball just off his glove. And there was no doubt that Deacon Lippett was going to score.
So 2 down for J.J. Schwartz. Drove in a pair with a single his first time up. By the way, the story of the SEC early on might just be Scott Strickland's Georgia squad. They clinched their series with a shutout over A&M last night, 3-0. Georgia's RPI coming into today was 8. Trying to get back to the postseason for the first time since 2011. And on the other side of that, Ben, if you're Texas A&M, now all of a sudden you're in quite a hole. You got LSU coming to town next week.
Yeah, A&M, you know, just been so close. 3 one-run losses as of late. They lost twice to Ole Miss by 1 run last weekend. And that's the difference in the SEC. I mean, I think every team can look back at, you know, at the end of a game and just say just one hit, one pitch made, one play made is the difference between the ball game, and that's really how tight it is now.
1-1 to Schwartz. That even came up when we were talking with the umpires before the game today. Tony Walsh says, listen, every call that we make is important. You go in the final weekend of SEC play, the final day, the difference between 1 run or 1 call could be the difference in a team not making it to Hoover.
Yeah.
And sometimes that plays into coach's job security.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, look at the game today. If a throw is made, a routine throw across the diamond today early in the ball game, that eliminates 2 runs from the Florida offense. So all of a sudden now, instead of it being 4-1, you got a 2-1 ball game. It's been that close. And that's what I'm saying. At the end of a series, man, you can go count. Just 1 pitch made, 1 fielding play made, 1 big base hit, runners at second and third, and 2 out.
Got him with a breaking ball, 1-2.
Because of the parity in the league this year, the teams that you've seen in the past years, the Georgias maybe, and the Missouris from time to time, and Tennessee, they're better teams this year. And the SEC's gotten better. I mean, there's 9 teams ranked in the top 25 going into this week, and the ones that aren't ranked are having solid years as well.
JJ goes the opposite way for a fair ball. It's all the way down into the corner. Dalton will be waved home. Schwartz will stop at second. It's another RBI for J.J. Schwartz. It is his third of the game. Trying to catch former SEC Player of the Year Brad Wilkerson for second in school history.
One thing about J.J. Schwartz, he's been able to do this his entire career. The freshman year was outstanding, but he's been able to drive in runs, and he's dangerous when he starts doing this, using the entire field. You see him stay inside the baseball. A lot of times last year when he struggled, at times he rolled over a lot of those balls in the outside part of the plate, but not this time. The hands go first, the barrel fouls it. There's a line drive to right field for another big insurance run for the Florida Gators.
Sac fly last night for J.J. Schwartz. That drove in run. He's one. He's driven in 3 today. So he's now tied Brad Wilkerson for second on the all-time list, and that one drops. Here comes Schwartz. Both teams have had issues with the wind today. That time the third baseman, the freshman Gonzalez, called off Infante and the ball to the right side of the infield. And nobody got it.
Yeah, long run for Gonzalez. You see him coming in from third base. He called it right there, but the ball, because of the wind drifting, the ball keeps on drifting, and really a ball that Infante, probably should have called and caught, but instead you see J.J. Schwartz coming around third. You always run these out, especially on a day like today, and the ball falls in, and J.J. Schwartz scores as well.
Schwartz will leave for a pinch runner. It'll be Andrew Baker. And it's now a 6-1 lead, which means Florida can likely hold Michael Byrne until tomorrow. And Ben, that is at least the third play that has not been ruled an error, that goes down in our scorebooks as a missed play by Vanderbilt. And you just can't do that against the number 2 team in the country.
Too many extra opportunities.
So it's an RBI bloop single for Langworthy. And he's pinch ran for by Baker. Great hustle by J.J. Schwartz. Scores from second on a ball that ended up, 25 feet from home plate? Short lead for Baker.
Yeah, and I'm like you. I don't know how there's not an error on the scoreboard somewhere.
Well, it's not uncommon, as you know, on a pop-up on the infield. If it doesn't touch anybody's glove, it's a rule of the hit. If it would have gone off of Gonzalez's glove,
but
it would
being
have
a
been.
former pitcher, you're going to punish me, right? I make a good pitch. There's
fair.
a ball. The ball goes 100 foot in the air that anybody could have caught. Most fifth graders are going to make the play from first base, and yet the ball falls in, and I'm getting a dime dropped on me for an earned run where I made a good pitch. The ball should be caught.
Yep,
and it's
that's
not.
Fair. And if you're Infante, I sense some frustration from him towards the freshman. You're calling me off on a ball that's being blown towards me.
Right. Well, him being the junior, the veteran guy, is a guy, he's got to make that call himself. But because he struggled a little bit defensively, you got to wonder where his confidence level is, too, at this point. Error last night for Infante, maybe a couple of balls today. One ball he should have caught, maybe a throw that maybe he should have made. So you wonder where his confidence is right now. So it's just tough for Vanderbilt, who really all year long has been an outstanding defensive club.
Yeah, they came in to this weekend #1 in the country in fielding percentage. A couple of errors last night, but still tied for the SEC lead today. And still no errors officially, no marks in the E column. A run on 5 hits for Vandy, 6 runs on 9 hits for Florida. There goes Baker. Pitch is up. Throw is up. And Baker goes in head first with a stolen base. Clark has only thrown out 2 of 13 base stealers this season. By the way, Vandy using the wristband. I don't think Philip Clark is using an earpiece, is he? J.J. Schwartz wasn't earlier. That one off of the glove, got crossed up that time. And he's going to have to chat with Brown.
Yeah, certainly Brown's not a guy you want to get crossed up on as he's bringing a mid-90s type fastball in there. You can see the catcher Clark clearly looking for a breaking ball as that fastball shot right up over his head.
Wireless communication is allowed between the dugout and the catcher during SEC play, during the SEC tournament, but not in NCAA play. Swing and a miss, 3-2, so not in the postseason.
Well, this game a lot like the game last night, a very close game last night to the bottom of the 7th inning, and Florida put up a 5 spot, and here they are again in the 7th.
Inside. And here's Keenan Bell. So Scott Brown, the Vanderbilt pitching coach, will send in the sign to Philip Clark. He's right behind the batter there. Clark checks the wristband, and it's something that the SEC was experimenting with wireless communication. There wasn't, from a pace of play initiative, you didn't have to look over to the pitching coach. Towering shot, deep right field. It is way gone, and Florida has blown this thing wide open on a 3-1 shot from Keenan Bell.
Fastball center cut, and I mean, you talking about drop the head on one, barrel it up, young man. That's coming from your 8-hole hitter who goes way out of the yard with our first Weaver of the day.
And a tough outing for Tyler Brown. He's had better days. He hadn't allowed a run in his last few outings, and here today he hasn't gotten an out. Single, double, dropped pop-up, walk, 3-run home run. All with 2 out. Nick Horvath's the 9th batter of the inning for Florida.
Yeah.
5 spot yesterday in the 7th, a 6th spot here.
And as pitchers, you know, we talk about plays that should be made, but it's my responsibility too as a pitcher to pick my guys up too. Even plays should be made. I can't allow something like that to happen. It's easy to go back dugout. Well, they should have made this play, and well, this play should have been made. And Coach Corbin will say that after the game. Hey, we didn't play defense very well. He'll be the first one to tell his guys, but he'll also say, but you pitchers have to make better pitchers in those certain situations too. Because going back to the first inning, maybe a play should have been made, but still it was a mistake was made that J.J. Schwartz, a curveball left up out over the plate, and that's how the scoring began for Florida.
Smoke down the third base line. Martin to find it in the corner, heading to second. Horvath, he is in with a 2-out double. Gators will bat around here in the 7th. It's back to Lippett, who started this inning with a walk from Zach King.
You know, and Tyler Brown just having trouble with location right now. I mean, the fastball gets hit for a home run. It's sitting in the middle of the plate, thigh high. That breaking ball is just sitting right there spinning as well. And again, Florida, like a lot of college teams, too good offensively not to make pitches to.
So here's Lippett, who is 0 for 2 with a couple of walks. You were the first overall pick. You played in the big leagues for a long time. You pitched in the big leagues, I should say, for a long time. I know you've had days like this.
Sure.
As good as you were. So what do you do? How do you recover from it?
That's a lonely place out there right now. I can tell you, I've been there before, where you just can't find your stuff. Nothing's going right, and they're just hammering you all over it. And it's a lonely place. And you try to figure it out pretty quick what's going on. But sometimes you just can't find it. But, I mean, that's when you pick up the pieces. As a starter, you know, you got 4 days to get ready again. So you go back, maybe you look at a little bit of film, you figure out where you were mechanically. And then you go work on it on your side day. And you get a good bullpen at work in your side day. You try to fix it, and you bring it to the next game.
And that one's up the middle. Horvath coming home. And if you're the Vandy coaching staff, you're Scott Brown, the pitching coach, or Tim Corbin, you know, Tyler Brown's been an out away from getting out of this inning.
Yes.
Time and time again. And they won't wait any longer after the RBI single from Lippett. And you feel for Tyler Brown in this scenario. A drop pop-up should have ended the inning. That drop pop-up led to a walk, which begat this. Keenan Bell with a 3-run shot. The moon taxi into the Vandy pen. All Gators in game number 2 as they look for a series win. Well, this escalated quickly. 10-1 Florida. A touchdown on the board here in the 7th. He might be going for 2. Tyler Brown failed to get an out coming out of the Vanderbilt bullpen. And so here we are. It's now Justin Wilson's turn. Sophomore right-hander from Murfreesboro. 6th appearance in the season, an ERA just over 4. He's only thrown 4 1/3. Vandy in salvage mode now. Try and get to tomorrow with a chance to find 1 win in the series. Since that misplayed pop-up, been 5 runs, 2 walks, 3 hits.
Yeah, just some pitches. And I tell you what, Florida has been impressive this year. This time last year, they were not swinging the bats very well at all. Very anemic offense, but not the case this year.
It's a big word.
Don't ask me how to spell it, please. I'm not very good at Scrabble.
How about boggle? This will boggle your mind the way Florida is better this year in the defending national champs.
The runs per game is what really jumps at you, and of course the home runs do too, but that's the biggest difference. There's only 2 teams in the SEC last year that didn't average at least 5 runs per game. One was Florida and one was Ole Miss. When you start to combine that defense that Florida has with the pitching that it has, and now an above average offense, it's scary.
1-0. I got an idea for you. How about you develop a Cajun Scrabble?
Well, yeah, I mean, Boudreaux's and Thibodeau's and stuff like that. We throw some seafood words in there.
Coubillon and Stoubion.
Yeah, they dropped the Stoubion on us last time down in Baton Rouge, huh? Something new. Kind of like the difference between a jambalaya and a pastalaya, which came along a little later.
When you first introduced me to Coubillon, I wanted to look it up. I asked you how to spell it. You didn't know. You asked your lovely wife, who's from another part of Louisiana. She couldn't tell you. Little pop-up, and this one is handled. Spelling bee continues. We're hooked on phonics here in Gainesville. Vandy needs 9 to tie. 10 for the lead. Well, all Florida here late in this one. It's a 10-1 lead for the Gators. Tom Hart alongside Ben McDonald. 7 runs in the 7th, and Florida has shuffled some guys around. Cal Greenfield is your new catcher. Chicago native takes over behind the plate. We got a new battery. Gators with a 9-run lead will find some time for Tommy Mace, a freshman out of Tampa. 10th appearance for Mace, 7.36 ERA. Mace threw last night. He allowed Vandy to come back in the game, allowed 3 runs in just the 3rd of an inning. So right back on the horse, right?
That's the best way. Worst thing when you have a bad outing is to sit there and think about it for 3 days. You'd like to get right back on that bump again and get rolling.
This is Ethan Paul to lead off the 8th inning. You know, you had, I keep bringing this up. Let's preface this by saying you're a college baseball Hall of Famer. You were the first overall pick in the draft. You had a ton of success in your baseball career.
Right.
That being said, you had one of your worst moments as an amateur pitcher on the biggest stage. You gave up a grand slam to Paul Carey of Stanford in the College World Series to end the season.
Yeah.
And I love the story that you've told before that Skip Bertman, your coach at LSU, thought it was best for you to get back on the mound as soon as possible. But the wrinkle was the LSU season was over. What happened? How did you get back on the mound?
Well, I was due to go play in the Alaskan Summer League after my freshman year at LSU. And you're right, I always had a lot of success in high school. We won a state championship. I was a pretty good basketball player and a football player. And I get to go to the Final 8 or the Elite 8 in basketball with Dale Brown and go to the College World Series all in the same year. Then all of a sudden I failed really on a big stage for the first time in my career. I gave up a grand slam and LSU was sent home from the College World Series. And I'd never experienced failure before in my career.
Well hit to center. Horvath has a beat on it. 1 down.
And so I give up the grand slam, and I had to go home, and being a hometown guy, I had to listen to my buddies and read the newspapers and all that about LSU failed, and the freshman McDonald gave up the grand slam to do it. And so I went into a state of depression for 2 weeks. Like, I didn't even leave my house for a while. And then all of a sudden, Dale Brown calls and said, listen, you got to put this behind you and move on, And of course, Skip Bertman said, you're going to the Alaskan Summer League. And he calls the coach, and I didn't know. He says, we got to get McDonald on the mound right away. Like, we got to get him out there and get him over it. So 2 weeks later, not really wanting to go to summer ball because I'm still depressed, I ship off anyway, and I get there and land. They pick me up and say, oh, by the way, you're pitching tomorrow. And I was like, great. The last time I threw up a pitch, it went 390 feet. We lost the College World Series, and I'm pitching the next day. So needless to say, I didn't sleep a wink that night. I mean, sweating, laying in bed, wondering, is this really for me? And, a million thoughts go through your mind. And, sometimes you need a little kick in the butt sometimes. And so I go to the ballpark, and it's 2 hours. I'm sitting at the locker. I'm getting dressed, I'm thinking about the last pitch I ever gave up and where it went. And all of a sudden, the coach comes in. Coach McFarland comes in, he says, and he gives me a piece of paper.
To third, here's India, bobbles it, and story time will continue.
And so he gives me a piece of paper, and he just hands it to me. He says, is this how you want to be remembered? And he turned around and walked off. And so I opened the piece of paper. I'm like, what is Coach talking about? And anyway, the coach on the other team thought it would be funny to send, how coaches exchange lineup cards but way before the game and then the final one at home plate. He thought it'd be funny to send over a lineup card that said Paul Carey, who I gave up the grand slam to from Stanford, 1 through 9. It said Paul Carey on the lineup card all the way down. And he gave it to me and said, "This is how you want to be remembered." He turned and walked off. And sometimes you need just a little bit extra to get going, a little bit, just something to motivate you to get on. And that was kind of it for me. And so I put it in my locker. I went out, and 2.5 hours later, I'd struck out, 13 or 14. And through a complete game shutout. And I remember the first thing I did is I went and I got that piece of paper out of my locker, and I went and gave it to the clubhouse kid. I said, please bring this back over to that coach over there and tell him I said thank you. Because, and as they say, the rest is history. But, sometimes you need just a little bit extra motivation. The guy thought it would be funny. It was never supposed to be shared with me. It was just between coaches. They were going to have a laugh at my expense. But my coach thought about it enough and says, I think this is the kind of kid that's going to take this to heart. And he came and gave it to me, and I'm glad that he did.
Harrison Ray pinch hitting here for Vanderbilt, and he fouls it off of the mask of Cal Greenfield. And when you sent it back with the thank you, there wasn't any malice or ill intent or animosity there.
No, I really meant that because that's kind of what I needed to get going again. You needed someone to kick you every now and then and kind of get you going. That motivated me to go out, well, I'm going to show him and I'm going to show everybody else that my career no matter how it turns out from here on out, it's not going to be defined by one pitch or one moment. And that's the way I took it.
Ray looks at a curveball for strike 3. 2 down. Get Up coming your way weekdays, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Mike Greenberg, Michelle Beadle, and Jalen Rose live from New York City. It premieres this Monday at 7 a.m. It will also be streaming live on the ESPN app. I have a lot to talk about Monday morning, including the national championship game in men's college basketball going on that night. Runner goes. They will throw through, and it'll be a stolen base for Julian Infante. Cal Greenfield will learn that if you just let him go in a 9-run game, it would be defensive indifference and not count against you, because he had a lead of about 35 feet. Nothing in 2 to Pat DeMarco. Part of this heralded freshman class. He's from Staten Island, New York, but he moved to Winder, Georgia to finish out his high school career. Was a Georgia Player of the Year as a junior and an All-American. His freshman year, they won the state championship in New York. To short. Lippett gathers guns, and that'll close out the Vandy 8th. No runs, no hits, an error, and a man left. Gators coming to the plate with a 9-run lead here on this gorgeous Saturday afternoon. College baseball is brought to you by Burger King. Mix or match 2 of our favorite sandwiches for just $6. Infinity, empower the drive. And Kraft, family greatly. And it feels like home to Ben McDonald among the swamps here.
Yeah, you see those cypress knees over there? That looks like home. Some cypress trees and cypress knees.
Cypress knees?
Yeah, that's the little baby cypress trees that are still call them cypress knees. I don't know why. They maybe they're knee high, and they will tear your knees up too walking in the dark. I can tell you that.
Why would one be walking in a swamp in the dark?
Well, Tommy, if you're slipping to your deer stand early in the morning, you don't want to turn a light on. I'm trying to slide in there, right?
Yeah, it's fair.
I'm sneaking in.
Here's Brady Smith. First appearance at the plate for Smith. Freshman from Niceville. How early do you have to get in the deer stand?
I like to be in the stand, settled, bow hung in the tree, everything ready to go, safety belt attached, and all that stuff about 20 minutes before daylight. Just kind of let everything kind of quieten down a little bit. Yeah, just in time to take a nap. It's always the goal.
Ty Duvall is the new Vanderbilt catcher. Through the signs for Justin Wilson. Here's the 2-1. One hopper. Paul, 1 down. NCAA Women's National Championship game presented by Capital One. It's Notre Dame and Mississippi State. Sunday at 6 Eastern. Mississippi State has never won a national championship in any sport. This could be their first ever. Notre Dame looking for their second in women's basketball. Adam Amin, Kara Lawson, Rebecca Lobo will have the call. Maria Taylor with Andy Landers and Rebecca Lobo on the pregame special. Both games went overtime last night. Couple of thrillers. Wonder if we'll get a Nell on Wheels appearance tomorrow night or Monday night. No, Sunday night. I'm lost. What day is today?
Today is Saturday.
And tomorrow's Easter. Happy Easter to you.
Happy Easter to you as well.
We'll be right here at the ballpark for a noon start between these two.
I saw her. She's got a lot of energy.
Oh, Nell on wheels, yeah. She's got an Olympic gold medal. Well, she doesn't have an Olympic gold medal. She was a head coach of the gold medal winning women's team. But coaches, as you know, don't get medals.
That's right.
I get a nice watch out of the deal, but that's about it. 3-1 now. Do you have a Team USA jersey framed in your man cave?
I do.
I'm guessing you've got, of your own jerseys, you would have Team USA, LSU, and Baltimore.
Correct, and Milwaukee too. I did frame one of those as well. And I threw in a basketball, LSU basketball jersey just for fun. Wasn't a long stay, but it was somewhat of a stay.
But an Elite Eight,
yeah,
and a College World Series, all in the same calendar year for Ben McDonald. There's ball 4. I don't know that that's been done.
I'm sure somebody's done it along the way somewhere. Yeah, that was from a kid coming from a town of 15,000. That was an experience my freshman year for sure.
Ryan Miner was a great basketball player. He played in Omaha. I don't know that Oklahoma made it to the Elite Eight that same year, though. He was with his brother Damon, and of course, Ryan got to start in Cal Ripken's place to bring it into the Iron Man streak. Here's Cal Greenfield. Greenfield has something in common with Vandy's Pat DeMarco, who's in right field right now. They're both from cold weather climates. DeMarco is from Staten Island. Played high school ball in Brooklyn originally, and then moved to Georgia. Greenfield is from Chicago, and then moved down to Florida, play his senior year of high school at Jensen Beach. He said, I wish I would have or could have done that a lot earlier. Think about the extra reps that you get playing in the warm weather climate versus hitting and fielding indoors, even if you could, whether that's in Chicago or New York City. Of course, Vandy had a really good one from New York and Pedro Alvarez years ago. 2-2 now. Dave Winfield did a little bit of everything in his time at Minnesota.
Yes, he did.
I don't know that the Gophers ever made it to the Elite Eight, though. And he was playing basketball for him. He did play in Omaha in the College World Series.
Yeah, well, he was drafted in, what, 3 sports out of Minnesota? It's pretty impressive.
Full count. Well, you had a chance to play for 2 very interesting coaches at LSU.
Very interesting.
Great to see Dale Brown around, still going to LSU basketball games. And Will Wade had a great year with the Tigers on the hardwood. Their first-year head coach.
You're in Baton Rouge during the wintertime doing basketball games, so you probably bump into Dale. Yeah, Dale's still just as sharp as he ever was. I mean, he is still so much fun to talk to.
Couldn't pull the trigger on the breaking ball. And so Greenfield strikes out in his first at bat of the game. And this is Andrew Baker's spot in the batting order now. Tim Corbin out.
I think
might be something wrong with Justin Wilson.
Yeah, I think
Tim Corbin's going to bring his trainer out with him.
Yeah, something's definitely
Tracy
wrong with
Campbell.
Wilson. I'm not sure what it is.
They're going to have to get somebody up.
Let's take a look at Justin Wilson when he throws this pitch.
He immediately looked to the dugout.
Yep, right there you saw him. I'm not saying that's what it was, but right after he looked at the dugout, you saw him kind of stretch his forearm a little bit. You see the fist go up on the right hand. He looked in right there, and right here, he picks up his fist right there.
Tracy Campbell is the athletic trainer. And she is not looking at anything specifically on him. They're just talking, and he looks very emotional on the mound. There's some pitching injuries that occur where as soon as you throw the pitch, you hear something, you feel something, you know that it's a significant injury the moment it happens. Not saying that's the case with Wilson.
We don't know what it is. I mean, Tommy John is a very, not saying that's what that is, but you hear a lot of guys that have elbow problems say, well, I threw one pitch and I felt the pop, or I felt something that just wasn't right, you know. Shoulders are a little bit different. You don't typically feel that with shoulders. Shoulders are something that where the muscles begin to get weak a little bit, and eventually over time something starts to give and you just have some chronic pain and you go get it looked at and eventually you find the problem. But elbows can be a little bit different than that.
Oh, we hate to see this for Justin Wilson. And a lot of pats on the back from his teammates. Maddox Conger will have unlimited warm-up pitches entering due to an injury. It's a 10-1 Florida lead. Andrew Baker at the plate, Maddox Conger on the mound. Conger threw 26 pitches in game 1 of this series last night. Conger called on to replace Justin Wilson, who faced 4 batters, retired 3 of them. But then left due to an apparent injury. Baker lifts it to the left side. Connor Kaiser into foul territory. That's the final out of the 8th inning. Last chance for Vanderbilt. They need 9 to tie, 10 for the lead. Gators trying to take the series here in game number 2. It was a 7th inning stretch for Florida. They put 7 on the board. It started with a Will Dalton RBI single. J.J. Schwartz's pop-up was dropped inside the right field line. Austin Langworthy a moment later had his pop-up dropped. That allowed Schwartz to hustle home from second. All of this with 2 outs, remember. Blake Reese was walked. And then this. Off aboard a moon taxi. Keenan Bell with a 3-run shot. They weren't done. After a double by Horvath, Deacon Lippett had an RBI single. 7th spot in the 7th.
Oh, it was 5 in the 7th last night for Florida. 7 today in the 7th.
So Hunter McMullen on the mound now for Florida. Kyle Greenfield is his catcher. Well hit, deep right towards the trees and into the trees. Ty Duvall, in his first at bat, blasts a home run to deep right field, his first home run.
Boy, you talk about light tower power. I didn't think this ball was ever going to come down as it one-hopped the house way beyond the palm trees in right field. I mean, this was a moonshot.
Did it make it to the frat?
It bounced off the road.
Sure did. Wow. That's a way to lead with some confidence.
Yeah.
Here's Garrett Blaylock.
Well, I think if you're Vanderbilt, that's got to be the goal right now, is try to leave with some confidence, try to get something positive going for tomorrow. It's a tough place to play, and Florida's really, really good. Vanderbilt's had an outstanding start to the SEC season for sure, but if they can find a way to salvage one win tomorrow, they're still in a good place. These freshmen are going to continue to grow up for Vanderbilt. There's enough of the veterans around.
One and two. Pretty good pitcher going tomorrow. Freshman Mason Hickman will get the start for Vanderbilt. He was sensational last time out against LSU.
He gave up 2 hits early to LSU and didn't allow another hit the last 5 innings. Now, it was a shortened game, a 7-inning game, but the last 5 innings didn't even allow a hit. As Vanderbilt won that game 1-0.
Big strikeout. One down. Georgia's already won the series against Texas A&M. They're going for the sweep today. They're now in the top 25. And look at that. Kentucky, the 10th ranked team in the country, is in last in the East.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, I think
they got upset by Alabama last night. They play today at 3.
2-5. Of course, you mentioned Texas A&M over in the West. A little bit surprised. I think A&M was picked to finish second, if I'm not mistaken, in the West.
A&M trying to salvage the series. They're up 2-0 in the top of the 4th in Athens. Tennessee and South Carolina are underway scoreless in the second, and no score between Arkansas and Ole Miss. SEC Network tonight has Auburn playing host to Missouri. Casey Mize didn't walk a batter, struck out 7 last night. Auburn took game 1 of that series. Tonight on ESPNU, it's game 3 of the series between TCU and Oklahoma State. They're playing game 2 right now. They got bad weather coming into Stillwater tomorrow. So 1-0 TCU lead in the second. Back-to-back Ks for Hunter McMullen.
Well, McMullen's looked good after giving up that solo home run. Showing you a fastball. It's a low 90s type fastball with really a swing and miss changeup to go with it.
This is Austin Martin. He is 0 for 4 today. From Covina, California. Rawlings perfect game, second team All-American in high school. At Bishop Amat, they won a state championship his sophomore year. 3-0. And a 4-pitch walk. TCU and Oklahoma State tonight. Oklahoma State got a 1-run victory against them last night. Big 12 looks a little down this year. They had a great year last year.
Yep. TCU can still pitch it, though.
Runner goes. Pitch is popped into foul territory. Bell runs out of room. Texas Tech went on the road a few weeks ago, lost 2 out of 3 at Kentucky. TCU and Texas Tech have been the class of that league over the last few years. There goes the runner. Popped him up. And that'll do it. Into Blake Reese's glove to bring it into this one. Florida takes the series. They'll try for a sweep tomorrow at noon on the SEC Network. 10-2 is our final. Florida looks like a better team than last year's national championship.
Yeah, Jackson Coar was good. I mean, he followed up last night what Brady Singer did. He punches out 6, only allows 1 run. Florida is really, really good with that improved offense.
Coming up next, it's the Old Spice College Lacrosse, Penn State and Ohio State. For Ben McDonald, our sensational ESPN crew, I'm Tom Hart. Good afternoon from Gainesville.